Chapter 247, Chu Yihan broke the door. However, just as she turned around to leave, she choked on a strong smell of smoke. What was going on? Chu Yihan. The front hall was already filled with ashes. Su Yingxue couldn't see anything clearly. Even the backyard of the medical center was ablaze. Su Yingxue hurriedly instructed, "Manager Qi, extinguish the fire." Cough cough. "Miss, this is Lord Liang's doing. He claims to have received the Emperor's decree and wants to burn everyone in our medical center to death." Manager Qi was also choked badly. He covered his face and directed a few servants to put out the fire. Su Yingxue's eyes were blurred by the thick smoke and she couldn't see anything clearly. In the midst of the fire, someone grabbed her waist and her body flew into the air, breaking through the roof. Chu Yihan landed with her to the ground. Liang Jin held a torch and looked at Chu Yihan in shock. "Your Highness, are you all right? The deadly plague has been cured. Who gave you the order to set the fire?" Chu Yihan was furious, his wrath echoed for miles. Everyone threw down their weapons and knelt before him. Liang Jin replied truthfully, "Your Highness, it was the Emperor's order to burn down the clinic to prevent the spread of the deadly plague. He ordered to burning of the medical center and the people inside were to be executed without mercy." Liang Jin was in a difficult position. Before he received the imperial edict, he had also petitioned the palace, stating that Chu Yihan had entered to test the medicine, and at the very least, they should wait for him to come out and see the results before making a decision. However, the emperor insisted on burning down the medical center. Not only did he want to burn down the medical center, but even the people who had returned home from the clinic, along with their families, were all arrested and prepared to be executed and buried alive. "Mo Qi, extinguish the fire." With Chu Yihan's order, Mo Qi immediately led his troops to extinguish the fire. The troops in Liang Jin's hands were no match for Chu Yihan's soldiers. However, what made him even more anxious was the direction Chu Yihan had left in with Su Yingxue. They were heading toward the imperial palace. In the Hall of Diligent Government, Chu Jinling and Chu Changye both knelt in front of Chu Mingyuan. Chu Changye passionately argued that burning the medical center and killing people at this moment would cause widespread panic among the common people, eroding trust in the court. They should consider better alternatives. However, Chu Jinling said simply, "Father, Imperial Uncle is still inside. If you kill him, won't it leave an eternal infamy in the hearts of the people? The bordering countries are eyeing us covetously. They might also take this opportunity to invade our dynasty." Enough. Chu Mingyuan slammed the teacup down. The tea splashed on their faces. Chu Jinling and Chu Changye knelt and kowtowed. "Father, please calm down. Calm down. Are you trying to appease me? Don't think that I don't know, Ye. You've been bewitched by Su Yingxue and single-mindedly wanting to protect her. And you, Linga, you only care about your imperial uncle. What border countries are eyeing them covetously? Have you ever thought about how many people will die in Jiangdu City if the two of them don't die?" Chu Mingyuan's scolding made the two princes unable to lift their heads. Chu Jinling, who usually had little interaction with Chu Changye, lowered his head and gave him a meaningful look. "Father likes you the most. You should beg father again. If imperial uncle and imperial aunt both died, how was he going to write his book? His future days would be so boring. He didn't want it." Chu Changye glared at him. "If you have the ability, why don't you plead yourself?" Chu Jinling muttered to himself, if he was the prince who was regarded as the heir, why would he still be begging here? He would have already rushed into the medical center with his men and rescued his imperial uncle and imperial aunt. What was the point of all this effort? If the two of us die, imperial brother will be able to sit on the dragon throne without any worries. Chu Yihan's voice came from afar, like a meteorite crashing into the hall. Chapter 248, Chu Yihan is safe and sound. Everyone knelt and greeted, Ninth Prince. As they looked closer, they saw that he was accompanied by Su Yingxue. The expressions of the officials in the court were not too pleasant, but none of them dared to stand up in front of Chu Yihan. However, some of them were very aggrieved. For example, Su Dingheng. Did he just kneel to his daughter? How awkward. As Su Yingxue walked past him, he originally intended to stand up. However, he sensed Chu Yihan's sharp gaze sweep past him, his legs went limp, and his knees thudded heavily on the ground again. Father's leg really hurt. For the first time, Chu Mingyuan couldn't control his expression in front of the officials. Chu Yihan, you are outrageous. If he had a weapon in his hand, he would definitely stab Chu Yihan with his sword. He was rebelling against his superiors. You disregarded your prestigious status, entered the epidemic zone alone, and now, you actually dared to spread this disease to the imperial court. Do you want to destroy the great Cheng dynasty? Chu Mingyuan reprimanded sternly. If it was said that he feared and respected Chu Yihan in the past, it was now a bone-deep hatred for him. He wanted nothing more than to immediately behead Chu Yihan and show him to the public. Chu Changye quickly retreated to the side and covered his mouth and nose with his hand. Imperial uncle, stop. If you take another step forward, I will order the imperial guards to show you no mercy. What right do you have to speak to me like this? Chu Yihan reprimanded his nephew and gave him a backhand slap, causing him to vomit blood. Fart. Chu Changye felt a sharp pain in his heart. Imperial uncle, are you crazy? Chu Jinling didn't move away from Chu Yihan to maintain a distance. He was indeed shocked. Su Yingxue looked at his adorable head and stroked his hair. Your imperial uncle is fine. He's doing very well. That's good. Chu Jinling heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, he was fine. Imperial uncle was infected with an illness and was cured. Chu Jinling was the first to react, and his eyes lit up. What? Cured? This is the deadly plague. Could it be that poison Dr. Saint Ruan has returned? He had resolved the calamity of the Jiangdu city. The officials discussed animatedly. They were no longer afraid of Chu Yihan approaching them. Emperor, it's a blessing for our great Cheng dynasty that His Highness' body has recovered. Su Dingheng took the opportunity to flatter and the civil officials followed suit. Chu Mingyuan's heartbeat slowed down as he looked at Chu Yihan suspiciously. Are you truly cured? Or are you here for revenge in the court? Does Imperial Brother think that everyone is like you, only capable of burning down the medical center? Chu Yihan's eyes were filled with contempt. He had no intention of respecting Chu Mingyuan as the emperor. Chu Mingyuan restrained his temper and waved his dragon robe. Summon the court physician. If you are not unharmed, one will impose the severest punishment on you. Chu Mingyuan, who had always cared for the people and the court officials, desperately hoped that Chu Yihan still had the deadly plague. It would give them a reason to have him executed cruelly, even if it meant paying a significant cost. The court physician arrived very quickly. He cowered and checked Chu Yihan's pulse. When he found no abnormalities, he relieved kowtowed to Chu Mingyuan. Reporting to the emperor, His Highness is unharmed. His Highness is unharmed. With no deadly plague on him, everyone in the Hall of Diligent Government heaved a sigh of relief. The civil and military officials all knelt and shouted, God bless our great Cheng dynasty. God bless the emperor. There was no joy in Chu Mingyuan's eyes. He could feel the hostility in Chu Yihan's gaze. Chu Yihan knew that the moment he entered the medical center, Chu Mingyuan had the intention to burn the medical center down. However, with the civil and military officials vehemently opposing, it wasn't until today that he could give the order to set the clinic on fire. Yet, he didn't expect. Chapter 249. Behind the conspiracy. Chu Yihan, are you really blessed by Father? This isn't a matter of God's blessing, but rather Su Yingxue developed the antidote. Instead of commendation, Imperial Brother set fire to her medical center. Don't you need to give her an explanation? Chu Yihan's voice was cold, yet authoritative, making it impossible for anyone to refute or dare to refute. Explanation? This illness was passed down from her medical center. Everything started because of her. I'm not investigating her faults, and she still wants commendation. Chu Mingyuan vented his anger at Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue knelt on the cold ground. Emperor, please forgive me. Indeed, this disease originated from my clinic. But it was not intentional for it to spread. The disease still exists, posing a threat not only to the Great Cheng dynasty but also to the entire medical community. 1 a.m. willing to submit the detoxification formula to be archived by the Imperial Medical Academy to compensate for my mistake. Su Yingxue kowtowed devoutly. Her calmness and generosity won the admiration of many officials. Even Chu Changye, who was helped to stand on the side, couldn't help but glance at her. He could see the awe-inspiring righteousness and courage of a woman in her. Chu Mingyuan thought for a moment and knew that Su Yingxue was smart. She left behind the antidote. This was far better than letting him punish her. It was much more beneficial to vent some anger. If the disease reappeared in the future, the imperial court wouldn't have to panic or fear. It would further contribute to stabilizing the people's hearts. Chu Mingyuan's eyes showed approval. Su Yingxue, you're so generous and decent, and you've worked hard to develop the antidote. I won't pursue your fault, but one won't reward you either. After all, this deadly plague originated in your medical center. Yes, I thank the emperor for not punishing me. Su Yingxue kowtowed. Chu Yihan's eyes were filled with dissatisfaction. Su Yingxue quickly hugged his thigh. Your Highness, don't speak. Don't say anything. She was afraid that Chu Mingyuan would be angered to death. Chu Yihan remained silent, but he was also upset with her. When Chu Mingyuan announced the dispersal of the court, Su Dingheng appeared out of nowhere. With a humble face, he walked to Su Yingxue and said to Chu Yihan with awe, Your Highness, my daughter has worked hard in dealing with the disease these days. Could you allow me to bring her home for recuperation? Chu Yihan grabbed Su Yingxue's hand, his eyes clearly conveyed a refusal. However, Su Yingxue broke free from him and smiled gently. Thank you, Your Highness. I'll go home with my father for now. Su Yingxue's reaction was beyond Su Dingheng's expectations. Chu Yihan was comforted by her gaze and was persuaded to leave. Once he left, Su Dingheng dared to lift his sleeves and wipe the sweat off his forehead. He still wanted to throw a tantrum whenever he saw Su Yingxue, but because he was in the palace, he restrained himself. Do you know how much trouble you've caused? If Ninth Prince hadn't recovered, the entire Marquise Manor would have been implicated because of you. Father, it might not be the case. A dark glint flashed across Su Yingxue's eyes. This gaze suddenly made Su Dingheng uneasy. How did you know? Su Dingheng blurted out. Realizing what he had said, he quickly frowned. Don't talk nonsense. I haven't said anything yet. Father, why are you so nervous? You have the cure for the deadly plague, but you didn't give it to me. I don't need it anymore. Su Yingxue's laughter was very soft, but it suddenly smashed a hole through Su Dingheng's heart. Su Dingheng's lips turned pale. How did you know? He hadn't even had the chance to report this matter to the emperor. Chapter 250. Make peace with Su Dingheng. Su Jinxian had painstakingly found this prescription outside. He was afraid of getting infected by Su Yingxue's illness, so he dared not have someone deliver it directly to the medical center. Moreover, he coveted this immense credit and wanted to present it to Chu Mingyuan during the morning court to receive a reward. This prescription was enough to elevate his official rank by 2 levels. However, Chu Yihan suddenly brought Su Yingxue to the court. Liang Jin had reported that Chu Yihan was confirmed to be infected, but now that he was declared cured, and Su Yingxue publicly mentioned presenting the prescription to the Imperial Medical Academy, his prescription became useless. Although he didn't get a promotion, Su Yingxue gained face in the Imperial Court. In the future, leveraging her influence, he wouldn't be afraid of missing opportunities for advancement and wealth. But how did Su Yingxue get wind of this? How could she know about this? Father, don't be afraid. If one can settle the matter, I definitely won't make things difficult for you. Moreover, being valued by the emperor also adds luster to your face, doesn't it? Our Marquise Manor will benefit as well. Su Yingxue smiled obediently. Accustomed to her defiance, Su Dingheng was momentarily stunned. You. Don't blame me for not caring about you. Su Yingxue shook her head. Su Dingheng felt a twinge of guilt in his heart. Actually, it's not that I don't want to give you the prescription. I wanted the emperor to intervene and save you. Initially, he didn't want Su Yingxue's life. After all, She was his daughter, and it involved the honor and disgrace of the Marquise manor. However, Liu Shulan advised him that bestowing grace from the emperor was giving face to the emperor, and it wouldn't hinder Su Yingshu's life. Su Yingxue smiled and said, "Father's considerations weren't wrong. Fortunately, one inherited mother's medical skills, and this time, one haven't brought shame to our Marquise manor. Let this matter rest. I need to return to the medical center for the aftermath. The medical center was burned, and its repair will take time. I want to recuperate in the manor for a while." "Of course. You've worked hard to develop the antidote. I'll send some tonics to your courtyard and instruct the kitchen to prepare dinner for you." Su Dingheng and Su Yingxue walked together. The father-daughter appeared amiable, seen by others as a display of filial piety. When Su Yingxue returned to the medical center, the guards had already withdrawn, but the medical center had been burned to a pulp. Liang Jin specially waited in the medical center. When Su Yingxue returned, he conveyed Chu Mingyuan's decree. The emperor has decreed that Su Yingxue, for her achievements in overcoming the epidemic, is to be granted assistance from the Ministry of Works for the repair of the clinic. Compensation will be provided for those affected, and when the medical center is fully restored, an imperial plague will be bestowed. Su Yingxue knelt. "Thank you for the emperor's grace. Rise, genius doctor." Even though he knew her identity, Liang Jin still couldn't help but address her as such. He had already been shocked by her too much. When he saw her now, the shock on his face had not dissipated. "You're really the great fortune of the great Cheng dynasty. 10 years ago, the poison doctor could cure the deadly plague, but he looked down on the imperial court. Now that you have also cured the deadly plague, you took the initiative to hand over the prescription to the Imperial Medical Academy. You have really contributed to the country. A small contribution, not worth mentioning. One will strive to make more contributions in the future." Su Yingxue smiled. Her words were filled with extraordinary confidence. It was a unique beauty that transcended her appearance. Liang Jin smiled in relief. He assured her that he would supervise the Ministry of Works to ensure a thorough renovation of her medical center, making it even more magnificent than before. Su Yingxue expressed her gratitude to him and went in to gather Manager Qi and the others. She granted them an extended leave and allowed them to go home on paid leave for rest and recuperation. Qin Ming and the apprentices expressed their gratitude, but Manager Qi shook his head. "The branch in the west of the city has just opened. I can go there to help. Rest is unnecessary for me. Miss, you should return to the Marquise manor and take a good rest for a few days." Chapter 251. Audit. Knowing that Manager Qi was a workaholic, Su Yingxue didn't force him. She returned to the study in the backyard and was troubled by the numerous medical books there. There was still so much she wanted to learn, and leaving them here might attract unwanted attention. After a brief consideration, she decided to move all the medical books and items in the study into Medicine King Valley. This way, no one could steal them, and only she could access them. However, this was not a small project. Little Ginseng floated around in her sea of consciousness, not offering a helping hand. When she complained of fatigue, it even criticized her. "You're moving so slowly. You're really useless. You're so good at making sarcastic remarks. Won't you come and help?" Su Yingxue rolled her eyes at it. Little Ginseng pouted proudly. "Have you ever seen a ginseng moving things? You can let me broaden my horizons. I, as a ginseng, don't have the time for such trivial tasks." "Hey, you dropped something. There's a black box in the corner," Little Ginseng reminded her kindly. Su Yingxue hadn't noticed yet, but in the corner of the bookshelf, there was a large box, dark and imposing. She tried to open it but found a lock on the box that was completely different from the usual locks they used. It had no keyhole, only a string of symbols she couldn't understand, and it could be rotated. She tried to turn the lock, but no matter what she did, she couldn't unlock it. Little Ginseng saw that she was sweating profusely and that the box was still intact. It waved its whisker and said, "This thing doesn't belong here." "Doesn't belong here?" Su Yingxue rubbed this special lock and raised her eyebrows. Little Ginseng's tone became serious. "One haven't seen this thing in thousands of years. It definitely doesn't belong here. You better keep it. Su Yingxue threw the box into the Medicine King Valley. However, since the box couldn't be opened, she didn't pay much attention to it. She didn't expect that when the box was opened, it would unveil a whole new world in her life. Su Yingxue rushed back to the Marquise Manor after she was done with her work. Su Dingheng brought Su Yuro to the flower hall and waited for her for a long time. The rare occasion of the 3 family members sitting together for a meal. As soon as Su Yingxue sat down, Su Dingheng picked up a piece of meat for her. You've worked hard these days. Eat more. It's not good to lose weight from hunger. Yes, thank you, father. Su Yingxue was unusually obedient. She glanced at Su Yuro across from her, and the look in her eyes seemed like she wanted to devour her. She was such a disappointment. Su Yuro and her mother's plan had failed to kill her. Su Yingxue enjoyed the meal, but Su Yuro wore a stern face. Even Su Dingheng looked displeased as he glanced at her. Rua, your sister's favorite dishes are with you. Hurry up and serve some to her. Su Yuro quickly smiled. Yes, father. Sister risked her life and made a great contribution. She should eat more. Su Yingxue put down her chopsticks and said with a smile, thank you. I'm full. She got up and said that she wanted to go back to rest. Su Dingheng didn't stop her. Su Yingxue pretended to mention it unintentionally. Father, have you paid attention to the account books of the few shops in your hands recently? Check if the income and money are in order. Su Dingheng was stunned. Why bring this up all of a sudden? He trusted Liu Shulan, and he had entrusted her with the account books and money. It had been a long since he last checked. This time, my medical center was burned down, and some of the account books were damaged. As one went through them, I found several mistakes. I thought of reminding father. Su Yingxue's eyes were pure as she left after saying that. Su Dingheng thought that she was just giving a well-intentioned reminder and planned to check with Liu Shulan later that night. Chapter 252. Like him so much. When Su Yuro heard this, her brows furrowed tightly. What does Su Yingxue know? She mumbled and quietly left the manor after dinner to sneak to her mother's place. In Su Yingxue's courtyard, Jilan assisted her in bathing and changing. While she appeared composed outside, she couldn't help but complain in front of Su Yingxue. Marquis is only polite to Miss because Miss has achieved something. Before that, when Miss was trapped in the medical center, we were worried to death, but Master sealed off our courtyard. He said if Miss couldn't return, he would hand over all of us, the servants, for execution. Su Yingxue had already expected Jilan to say this. You've all worked hard during this time. Miss, how can this be considered hard? We, as servants, don't seek much. We only hope to serve Master well. Marquis' heart had long been outside. Miss, you still care so much about Marquis. Who said I care about him? Su Yingxue's lips curved into a smile. The bathroom was filled with mist. Her unparalleled beauty seemed ethereal in the mist, like a dream. Miss, didn't you remind Master to check the accounts? Jilan was puzzled. If he doesn't check the accounts, how would he know how much money Liu Shulan used, collaborating with Silver Moon Pavilion, and creating such a deadly plague to harm me? Su Yingxue flickered the water droplets on her fingertips, and a hint of sharpness appeared in her watery eyes. Jilan was greatly shocked when she heard this. She was about to shout out indignantly, but seeing that Su Yingxue was so calm, she thought about it and said in a low voice, Miss, you've considered everything thoroughly. Su Yingxue stretched out her hand from the bathtub and pinched Jilan's moist face. My little maid, when did you become so composed? In the past, she loved to shout. Jilan felt a little embarrassed. Old Madame Zhong has been talking to me a lot these days, imparting some principles. As attendants close to Miss, we must be more composed so as not to drag Miss down. Xu Yang often comes to convey the eldest young master's instructions. In everything, one must not panic and must be as calm as Miss in times of crisis to be a useful loyal servant. That brat Xu Yang, could it be that he's using brother's name to bully you? Su Yingxue tilted her head and looked a little cute. Jilan blushed. No. He was very good. Miss, don't worry about me. Well, Since you like him so much, one won't worry them. Su Yingxue patted her head. Jillian's face flushed red, but she dared not talk back to her. Su Yingxue came out of the shower, and there was a pervasive sense of killing intent in the room. When Jilan saw Ziwei, she immediately protected Su Yingxue. This is Miss Boudoir. As a grown man, you should be careful. Don't come in often. If people find out, how will Miss get married in the future? Ziwei's eyes narrowed. Obviously, after so many years as an assassin, he didn't understand these things. He turned around and let Su Yingxue enter the inner room to change her clothes. Su Yingxue called out to him, and he slowly turned around. He lowered his head and said hoarsely, "I'm sorry. It's fine. There's no need to be constrained by these things in the future." After Su Yingxue sat up, she poured a cup of tea for Ziwei and gestured for him to sit down. Ziwei remained motionless, held a knife, and stood in place. He briefly described the situation in Yaoguang Garden. Your father left in anger. When Ziwei saw him return to the Marquise Manor, he came back to report to Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue chuckled. Knowing that a significant amount of silver is missing but not knowing where it went, my father has every reason to be angry. Chapter 253, Liu Shulan was infected. She harmed you. Ziwei's eyes flashed with a sudden hint of killing intent. No big deal. Tonight, we'll visit her. Su Yingxue brought Ziwei to Yaoguang Garden. Ziwei observed that Liu Shulan would drink a cup of honey water before she went to bed for beauty purposes. Su Yingxue brought a cup over and poured the honey water from Liu Shulan's cup into the cup she brought. Ziwei noticed that the cup she brought was heavily wrapped, and she didn't even touch the cup with her fingers. He asked mildly, "Why?" Su Yingxue was lying on the beam with him. When she saw Liu Shulan drink the cup of honey water, she chuckled and said, "That cup was used by Lai San." Liu Shulan collaborated with Silver Moon Pavilion to harm her. This cup of honey water was her small retaliation against Liu Shulan. As for Silver Moon Pavilion, she instructed Ziwei to keep watch for a few days and bring her here when people from Silver Moon Pavilion arrived at Yaoguang Garden. In less than 2 days, Ziwei told her, Hong Lian has appeared. Su Yingxue nodded. Let's go and meet her. She and Ziwei arrived at Yaoguang Garden. From the roof, they could clearly see the chaos inside. Su Yuro cried miserably in her room. Mother, how did you become like this? How did one get infected with this deadly plague? I'm scared. Su Yingxue's lips curled up. She squatted down and watched the people busy themselves for a long time before Hong Lian finally appeared. The moment she entered the room, the cries and screams inside ceased. Su Yingxue clicked her tongue and sighed. She's indeed the person who poisoned Lai San. She immediately cured the poison. Hong Lian had brought Saint Juan's antidote for Liu Shulan. However, when she saw Liu Shulan's scarred face, she frowned. Could it be that you were careless and contracted the deadly plague? Liu Shulan shook her head vigorously. That's impossible. One didn't even handle the things you gave me. I handed them over to the servants. After Lai San got infected, I executed that servant and burned his body. 1. I shouldn't get infected. Did you deliberately harm my mother? You took so much money from us and caused my mother to get sick. Su Yuro dared not get close. She hid behind the folding screen and cried out. A sudden murderous intent gathered in Hong Lian's eyes. Liu Shulan quickly tried to smooth things over. My daughter said it unintentionally. I hope that Pavilion Master will not take it to heart because of her young age. It's just that my illness is really strange. Pavilion Master, please forgive me. Hong Lian also knew that her illness was peculiar. She asked her to take out all the things she had used recently and even asked her to record all the people she had come into contact with. Among the people she had been in contact with, none were related to Su Yingxue's medical center. As for the things she had used, Hong Lian looked at the row of teacups and bowls in front of her and gently picked up a small cup with a handkerchief. Liu Shulan recognized it. This is the teacup I use every night for honey water. Hong Lian's eyes revealed a trace of disdain as she threw the cup in front of her. This is Su Yingshu's gift to you. When the inconspicuous porcelain cup rolled in front of Liu Shulan, the words Tongchang Medical Center were engraved on the bottom of the cup. Liu Shulan was shocked. Su Yingxue. She could actually change the cup she drank from. How terrifying was that? Mother, it's Su Yingxue who harmed you. This bitch. Let's go back and tell father to kill her. Su Yuro shouted angrily. Kill her. Hong Lian chuckled. Madam Liu, your daughter is vicious, but she's stupid and ignorant. Silver Moon Pavilion doesn't do business with stupid people. In the future, there's no need for you to come to the Silver Moon Pavilion. Chapter 254. Kneel and apologize. Liu Shulan dared not refute Hong Lian's words. Once she left, she quickly ordered someone to throw the cup out and burn it. Su Yuro continued to cry and fuss behind the folding screen. Mother, she insulted me. That bitch, Su Yingxue should be killed. Shut up. Hasn't the scolding awakened you? If this matter reaches your father's ears, he will be the first to kill both of us. Liu Shulan's slender nails dug into the flesh of her palm, and blood dripped down her palm. Su Yingxue was indeed clever and a formidable opponent. However, she had never expected that she wouldn't reveal the truth after finding out that it was her, causing her to contract this disease. Hong Lian's antidote was still brewing. At this moment, all the pustules on Liu Shulan's body had been scratched open, and yellow liquid and blood flowed all over her body. She looked at herself in the mirror, ugly, bald, and on the verge of collapse. Once Hong Lian left the Yaoguang garden, the assassins she brought with her surrounded her. In a dark alley, Su Yingxue and Zi Wei appeared together. Su Yingxue smiled. Pavilion Master Hong Lian, with such formidable martial arts skills, why bring so many assassins? It seems you have made quite a few enemies. Hong Lian's crimson eyes narrowed slightly, emitting a burst of murderous intent. Su Yingxue, do you think that you have the right to boast in front of me just because you survived a great disaster? Her aura was strong, while Su Yingxue and Zi Wei seemed frail. However, Su Yingxue showed no hint of fear throughout her body. Today, one not only want to boast in front of you but also make you kowtow and apologize to me. What audacity! One think you're tired of living. Hong Lian was so angry that her hands trembled. She wished she could wave her hand and give the order to chop Su Yingxue into meat paste. The assassin beside her took a step forward, and Zi Wei immediately protected Su Yingxue. Even though he remained silent, the intense killing intent emanating from his was enough to make the assassins around Hong Lian halt. Pavilion Master Hong Lian, one advise you to let the people around you leave. Otherwise, your subordinates will see your embarrassing appearance later. Su Yingxue raised her eyebrows as if she was taking a leisurely stroll. Hong Lian gritted her teeth. What right do you have? Because I know that Silver Moon Pavilion harbors the source of the deadly plague and has unleashed this harmful poison in Jiangdu City. Just this alone is already a violation of the alliance agreement between the Silver Moon Pavilion and the various countries. What a joke! Would my Silver Moon Pavilion be afraid of your threats? Hong Lian sneered. Of course, you're not afraid, but what about the great Cheng dynasty? His Highness, with tens of thousands of elite troops, will you be afraid? Once the Emperor learns that Silver Moon Pavilion has caused trouble in Jiangdu City, he will not tolerate it. If His Highness is ordered to intervene, do you think he will spare Silver Moon Pavilion? Su Yingxue raised her eyebrows, and her eyes were filled with a blatant threat. Su Yingxue, how dare you use His Highness to threaten me? Hong Lian's eyes glared fiercely. Didn't you threaten me with His Highness? If it wasn't for His Highness risking his life to test the medicine for me, what would Jiangdu City be like now? Do you think that if you manage to produce the cure for the deadly plague, the Emperor won't find out about your conspiracy, and His Highness won't kill you? Su Yingxue's sonorous and powerful voice pierced Hong Lian's heart. This time, Su Yingxue truly had a hold over Hong Lian. It was fine if she brought disaster to other countries, but Jiangdu City was under the guardianship of Chu Yihan. If he learned about this matter, the relationship between Silver Moon Pavilion and him wouldn't save her position in his heart. Hong Lian gritted her teeth in hatred. Su Yingxue, what do you want? I told you to kneel and kowtow in apology. Chapter 255. The pain of piercing bones. I told you to kneel and kowtow in apology. Su Yingxu's lips always carried a faint smile. The anger in Hong Lian's heart surged out. Su Yingxue, how you dare! She, Hong Lian, was the pavilion master of Silver Moon Pavilion. She was proud and even surpassed princesses and county princesses. Su Yingxue actually dared to make her kneel? Why wouldn't I dare? If you don't kneel, I'll bring Liu Shulan to the emperor right now. There will definitely be a battle between the great Cheng dynasty and the Silver Moon Pavilion. The one leading the army to kill you will definitely be His Highness. You've admired His Highness for so long. Why don't you try dying under his sword? The moonlight shone on Su Yingxu's beautiful face, reflecting the coldness in her eyes. Her gaze was like an unsheathed sword, making people dare not look directly at her. Hong Lian's body trembled slightly. A thought flashed through her mind. Kill Su Yingxue. Now. Immediately. Right away. It's curfew time now. If you move against me, the city defense army is also His Highness army. You can't kill me. Su Yingxue smiled and cut off the last trace of thought in Hong Lian's heart. The assassins around Hong Lian were trembling. They had been raised in the Silver Moon Pavilion for so long, and Hong Lian, ruthless and merciless, had never hesitated to kill or act. Although they could clearly sense the murderous intent emanating from Hong Lian, they never heard her order to attack. It wasn't until Hong Lian said in a deep voice, "All of you, get lost. Pavilion Master, get lost." Hong Lian sternly scolded, and the 19 assassins immediately disappeared without a trace. Hong Lian walked towards Su Yingxue, lowered her head, and knelt before her. The moment her knees touched the ground, the corners of Su Yingxu's mouth curled up slightly. Don't you know how to apologize? Silver Moon Pavilion has acted inappropriately. One ask the eldest young miss of the Marquise Manor for forgiveness. Please don't hold it against Silver Moon Pavilion. Hong Lian lowered her head to hide the humiliation on her face. All right. Su Yingxue agreed, but she didn't ask Hong Lian to stand up. She stood quietly for 15 minutes while Hong Lian knelt for 15 minutes. Only after Su Yingxue left with Ziwei did Hong Lian slowly stand up. Even after they turned down a corner, Su Yingxue could still sense the destructive killing intent of Hong Lian. Ziwei spoke solemnly. Why? Are you asking me why I made Hong Lian kneel before me instead of directly informing the emperor or His Highness? Su Yingxue winked at Ziwei like a fairy. Ziwei's heart skipped a beat. He lowered his head and grunted hoarsely. Hong Lian is Silver Moon Pavilion Master. It's not that easy to eliminate the Silver Moon Pavilion. All the previous attempts by various countries only resulted in mutual damage to Silver Moon Pavilion. The Emperor might not exterminate Silver Moon Pavilion, but His Highness would genuinely be angry. By probing Hong Lian this way, she had proven something. Silver Moon Pavilion might not fear the Emperor, but they fear His Highness. Likely, the relationship between His Highness and Silver Moon Pavilion is not simple. Therefore, Hong Lian, engaging in this business, must be doing it behind His Highness' back. If Chu Yihan knew about this, things wouldn't be solved by just kneeling before her. You seem quite pleasant, Ziwei said with certainty. Su Yingxue didn't hide her smile at all. Yes, Hong Lian is my enemy. She even set us up last time. Of course, I'm happy to make her suffer. Ziwei didn't think much of it. In the eyes of an assassin, if someone was an enemy, even if she could survive, she had to suffer significant harm. The battle between women is unlike that of men. Hong Lian is proud and arrogant. Even if she suffers physical injuries, she can recover easily. But damaging her pride, undermining her sharpness, can cripple her to the point where she can't lift her head. Chapter 256. Marquise Manor's stewardship. Making Hong Lian kneel before her tonight was akin to subjecting her to bone-piercing torture. The humiliation today would be etched in Hong Lian's memory for the rest of her life. Kill with precision, use different methods for each person. Su Yingxue poked Ziwei's face as if she were teaching him. Ziwei didn't understand these intricacies. He would only brandish his saber and risk his life whenever Su Yingxue faced danger. However, Su Yingxue had tasted the sweetness. Hong Lian would prostrate herself before her, and the same fate awaited Liu Shulan and her daughter. In her previous life, she was treated like a fool, and those who humiliated her would pay a brutal price in this life. Liu Shulan and her daughter had taken the initiative to attack her so many times. As her medical center was closed for a break, she had the perfect opportunity to strike back at them. Su Yingxue refurbished her medical center, taking the time to rest, hone her medical skills, and rejuvenate her spirits. In order to see her, Su Hao also came back a few more times. Seeing that her relationship with Su Dingheng had improved, he was puzzled but refrained from asking questions. It wasn't until Su Yingxue brought it up, "Father, there's something I'd like to discuss with you." Su Dingheng put down the tea in his hand and looked at her seriously. "What's the matter?" "Mother has passed away for many years, and there has been no mistress in the Marquise Manor. You have to attend court and manage the household, which is truly busy. One feel a bit sorry for father." Su Yingxue's eyes were filled with sincerity. Su Dingheng was touched at first, until she continued, "I've been idle recently. Why not let me take care of the household for you? It would also lighten your burden." There's no need for that." Su Dingheng looked a little uncomfortable. Su Yingxue already held a significant portion of shops, and most of the Marquise Manor's finances were under her control. If she took over the household affairs, wouldn't he, as the father, be sidelined? Su Dingheng would never allow himself to fall into such a situation. He coughed lightly. "Cough, how can an unmarried girl like you manage the household? The affairs of the house are incredibly intricate and complicated. It is precisely because I haven't married yet that one want to learn. Otherwise, when one marry into my husband's family, it'll be the subject of ridicule. Our Marquise Manor would be blamed for not raising me properly." Su Yingxue looked aggrieved. Su Dingheng was speechless. He didn't want to relinquish power, but Su Yingxue's words were reasonable. Just when he felt relieved that Su Yingxue had been obedient for 2 days, she now seemed to be aiming to seize power. In Su Dingheng's eyes, his displeasure toward her returned. Su Yuro happened to arrive at this moment. When she heard this, she stepped forward to help Su Dingheng out of the predicament. "Father, what sister said makes sense, but as a daughter of the Marquise Manor, Rua could also learn to manage the household and share the worries for father." Su Dingheng raised his head to look at her. Su Yuro was his beloved daughter, but she was still a little immature. Considering the mistakes she had made before, he was genuinely concerned about entrusting the authority of the Marquise Manor to her. He only sighed softly. "You're younger than Yingxue. I'm afraid you won't be able to manage it well. Daddy, let me try. Mother has taught me since one was little. Rua will not disappoint you." Su Yuro clung to his arm and acted coquettishly. When she mentioned her mother, she deliberately raised her eyebrows at Su Yingxue, mocking her for not having a mother's guidance. Su Yingxue didn't take it to heart at all. She quietly waited for Su Dingheng's decision. Su Dingheng was a selfish man to his bones. Other than Liu Shulan, whom he loved deeply, he harbored a sense of distrust even toward his own daughter, Su Yuro. Now, as she and Su Yingxue contended, he sternly remarked, "All right, you two sisters might not be able to manage it well. House military affairs are very busy. If he gets married, and we have there's a young madam in the Marquise Manor, it won't be too late for me to hand over the authority to her." Chapter 257, Su Yingxue prepared to close the door and beat the dog. Su Yingxue raised her eyebrows. Her father was indeed a sly fox among civil officials. He clearly knew that Su Hao liked Wu Jinyang and insisted on marrying her, and it was not so easy for him to marry Wu Jinyang to be the young madam of the Marquise Manor. His words were flawless and irrefutable. Su Yuro didn't get the right to be the butler, so she sat to the side indignantly. However, Su Yingxue continued, "Why does my brother need to get married? If Marquise Manor needs a madam, father can either marry or take in someone. It's not impossible." Su Yuro looked at her in confusion. Su Hao shouted angrily on the spot, "Sister, what are you talking about? Box novel. Their grandfather had decreed that to protect their mother, their father couldn't marry or rake concubines in his lifetime. Yet, she was suggesting that he marry again. Ingxue, do you mean what you're saying? Su Dingheng's eyes lit up. Of course it's true. Father, at your age, you should have someone to serve you. Su Yingxu's words were so sincere that even Su Yuro couldn't believe it and thought that she had gone crazy. Well then, I'll immediately send someone to propose marriage. This, Su Dingheng was overly happy and remembered that he still had the old master above him. He quickly took back his words. In this life, I've only had your mother as a wife. However, if one were to take a concubine, I'd long had someone in mind. Oh, who is it? Su Yingxu's eyes were pure as she pretended not to know. It's Rua's mother. She gave birth to Rua and Jinxian, but she never had a status. Now, only Rua has returned to the Marquise Manor, and Jinxian is still wandering outside. I can't bear it in my heart. Su Dingheng pounded his chest in pain. In that case, father should indeed give sister's mother a status. Su Yingxue smiled faintly. Su Yingxue, do you know what you're talking about? Su Hao stood up and stared at her with red eyes. Su Yingxue had an innocent look on her face. Su Hao rushed out angrily. Su Yingxue bowed slightly. If father needs my help in this matter, I'll definitely not reject it. I'll go persuade brother. Good, good, good. You're really a sensible and obedient child. Su Dingheng was overjoyed. He had wanted to marry Liu Shulan for so many years. Now that Su Yingxue had taken the initiative to propose it, she was so obedient that it was unbelievable. However, Su Yuris' eyes were filled with doubt. Father, is this not a trap set by sister? Are you really going to welcome mother into the manor? Nonsense. Rua, you've really been spoiled by me. Your sister is so understanding. She suggested that one bring your mother into the manor, and here you're speaking ill of her. Su Dingheng reprimanded Su Yuro. Su Yuro was filled with grievances as she returned to her room sullenly. Su Yingxue used her flying skills, leaped onto the roof beams, and then jumped down to catch up with Su Hao. Brother, slow down. My legs aren't as long as yours. Su Yingxue landed in front of Su Hao and pulled his sleeve. Su Hao shook her off angrily. Don't touch me, brother, if you're angry with me, 111 cry for you. Su Yingxue used her trump card. Su Hao instantly lost his temper. In the military, he could tame many stubborn and disobedient soldiers. However, at home, he couldn't say a single harsh word to his sister. Brother, don't be angry. If mother knows that I did this, she won't blame me. Su Yingxue pulled his hand and acted coquettishly. Su Hao's handsome face turned gloomy, and his eyes were cold. If mother knew that the woman had entered the house, she would never be pleased. Chapter 258. Increasingly difficult to understand my sister, but if she doesn't enter the house, how can I close the door and beat the dog? Su Yingxue tilted her head. Su Hao looked at her in surprise. You deliberately let her enter the manor? Yes. Su Yingxue followed him back to Ling Xiao Court. She didn't hide anything from Su Hao and told him about the deadly plague in the medical center and the matters related to Silver Moon Pavilion. What? That woman was so vicious. By doing this, you're inviting a wolf into the house. Su Hao punched the table. Su Yingxue consoled him. Brother, this is clearly a dog beating behind closed doors. Rather than letting her stay in Yaoguang Garden and plot against us, it would be better to let her stay in the Marquise Manor. Under my watchful eyes, this is our home. She's just an outsider woman who doesn't even deserve the status of a concubine. What can she use to threaten us? Box novel. Didn't you ask father to take her as a concubine? Su Hao's eyes were filled with doubt. I did ask father to do this, but isn't it a different matter whether he can do it or not? Su Yingxu's black eyes turned around slyly. What other ideas are you hiding from me again? Su Hao flicked her nose. Now, he found it increasingly difficult to understand his sister. Su Yingxue kept Su Hao in suspense. Anyway, I can guarantee brother that regardless of whether it's a wife or a concubine, that woman called Liu Shulan is not qualified. She can only be a servant when she enters the Marquise manor. She will even spit out all the assets that belonged to Mother that she embezzled in the past and return them to us. Su Hao felt that it was unbelievable. A woman who has such vicious thoughts and almost killed you is not easy to deal with. You have to be careful. Don't worry. If I'm not careful, there's still Sister Jinyang. Brother doesn't trust me, but don't you trust her? Su Yingxue secretly teased Su Hao. Su Hao's face suddenly blushed. Of course she's cautious. If Wu Jinyang hadn't been so cautious, she would have married him in a daze. However, it was precisely because she was cautious that he understood that they both needed to work harder. He ultimately agreed with Su Yingxue, but he admonished her, if something like this happens in the future, don't hide it from me. I'll save you even if one have to risk my life. I won't allow anything to happen to you, understand? He patted her shoulder. The affection in his eyes made Su Yingxue extremely moved. In her previous life, her brother had died because of her, and she didn't have much time to enjoy the bond between siblings. However, it was different now. They would all live well. Su Dingheng very quickly began to prepare for the matter of taking in concubines. Their Marquise manor had a deep root, and even if he, the Marquis, were to take in concubines, even if the old master wasn't around, he would still have to invite the elders of the clan to nod their heads and be witnessy. Originally, the elders of the clan were aligned with the old master. However, when they saw that Su Yingxue had nodded and agreed to help Su Dingheng personally, they couldn't openly object. Su Yingxue publicly proposed, "Daddy, taking a concubine is a significant matter. We should open the ancestral hall and seek the guidance of our ancestors. Once the ancestral hall is open for worship, we must bestow widespread benevolence. Since one can't assist Daddy in many ways, one boldly take on this responsibility." Su Dingheng was overjoyed and paid little attention to these details. Su Yingxue's understanding and wise words won the favor of the clan elders. He couldn't stop smiling. "Very well. Truly, you are my excellent daughter. I entrust this matter to you. This is your responsibility as a legitimate daughter." That's right, eldest young miss is the legitimate daughter of the Marquise manor, should naturally handle it in this manner. Thank you for your praise, uncles and esteemed elders. Chapter 259, Su Dingheng took a concubine. Thank you for your praise, uncles and esteemed elders. Su Yingxue ingratiated herself with the elders. During their conversations, she learned that some of them had physical inconveniences due to their age. She even provided them with prescriptions for tonics, which further endeared her to the clan elders. Outside the door, Su Yuro gritted her teeth so hard that they felt like they might shatter. The elders of the Su family all praised Su Yingxue, commending her grace and noble status as a legitimate daughter. But this was all praise for Su Yuro in the past. She was also a daughter of the Su family. Box novel. Miss, please bear with it. When our madam enters the manor, she will definitely teach eldest young miss a good lesson. She and eldest young master are both motherless children. How can they compare to you and second young master? Yuan Ruo advised from the side. Su Yuro looked at the triumphant Su Yingxue and gritted her teeth. Su Yingxue, wait until my mother enters the Marquise manor, and you'll meet your end. Su Dingheng chose an auspicious day and set the marriage. He even sent an invitation to his colleagues and friends in the court to attend the Marquise manor for a wedding banquet. Those who were at odds with him and looked down on him had all come this time after receiving the invitation. He even sent someone to deliver the invitation to the 9th prince's mansion. Little did Su Dingheng expect that Chu Yihan would also attend. Su Dingheng was dressed in wedding robes and was welcoming guests at the entrance. When he saw Chu Yihan, he went forward to welcome him with a radiant face. "Your Highness, it is an honor for the Marquise manor to have you here." Chu Yihan's face was as cold as ice. He nodded slightly at him and went straight into the manor. Su Dingheng thought that with Chu Yihan's arrival, he would at least show some courtesy and offer a word of blessing. However, Chu Yihan publicly ignored him like this. He felt instantly embarrassed. Liang Jin came up and patted his shoulder. "Marquis, please don't take offense. His Highness has always been like this. Even if the emperor wants to hear a pleasant word from His Highness, it's not that easy. He seemed to be consoling him, but there was a hint of mockery at the corner of his mouth. Su Dingheng followed the cue. Lord Liang is right. Welcome, Lord Liang. Please come in. Liang Jin also entered the manor. He had brought his wife with him today. Mrs. Liang had recovered from her illness and was eager to express her gratitude to Su Yingxue in person. Now that she had personally entered the Marquise manor and saw Su Yingxue, she couldn't wait to walk over and hold her hand. Miss Su, genius Dr. Su. I've missed you for a long time. Alio, Mrs. Liang. Su Yingxue greeted her with a smile. Seeing that Mrs. Liang's complexion had improved, she took her pulse again. Mrs. Liang's body has recovered. You must have been very happy during this period. Your blood circulation has improved significantly. Mrs. Liang was surprised. Miss Su, you're really amazing. My husband has treated me very well during this period of time. Ever since one recovered from my illness, Madam. Liang Jin quickly pulled her back. Miss Su is still unmarried. We shouldn't discuss our private matters in front of her. Liang Jin found it funny and helpless. He had spoiled his wife. She had a lively personality and sometimes she would talk too much. Mrs. Liang immediately covered her mouth. Oh, one forgot. Miss Su is still a young lady. She blinked and apologized. Miss Su, please don't take offense. I'll talk to you privately after you get married. Please sit, Mrs. Liang. Su Yingxue smiled awkwardly. She thought to herself that Mrs. Liang was indeed a girl spoiled by her husband. Su Yingxue, are you very happy today? Chu Yihan's cold voice was heard. Su Yingxue turned around and was a little surprised. Your Highness, you also honored us with your presence. I received the invitation, so why can't one come? Chu Yihan didn't receive a grand welcome from her and seemed a little displeased. Your Highness, please take a seat. Su Yingxue smiled obsequiously. Chu Yihan stepped forward and pinched her chin. He stared at her deeply. Are you sincerely agreeing to your father taking a concubine? If you are unwilling, I can. Chapter 260. The disturbance of entering the manor. What can your highness do? Are you planning to throw people out of the Marquise manor? Su Yingxue winked playfully, seemingly eager for Chu Yihan's response. I can do that, Chu Yihan told her with certainty. On the day the Marquis of Marshall South took a concubine, the 9th prince threw him and his concubine out of the Marquise manor. That scene must have been spectacular, and her father and Liu Shulan must have been in a sorry state. However, she would never do something that would tarnish Chu Yihan's reputation. So she bowed slightly. Thank you for your good intentions, Your Highness. However, one was the one who suggested this matter, so you don't have to worry about it. Box novel. Chu Yihan looked at her intelligent eyes, which were flowing with a gem-like luster. No matter how he looked at it, she didn't look like someone who could be bullied. Instead, she looked like someone who was in control of the situation. Chu Yihan couldn't help but be curious about her intentions. Su Yingxue couldn't bear to hide it from him for too long, nor could she bear to let her brother watch for too long. When Liu Shulan's bridal sedan arrived at the entrance of the Marquise manor, she and Su Hao went out to welcome them. Su Dingheng gave Liu Shulan enough face. It was a 2-meter-wide sedan chair with 8 carriages. Although it was a concubine, the scene was not much smaller than a wife. Beside the bridal sedan, Su Jinxian, who hadn't shown up for days, stood in a dignified manner. He was dressed in a black robe with a complicated and exquisite pattern embroidered with gold and silver threads on his chest. The long fringe on his forehead covered half of his eyes, but it couldn't hide the gloomy expression in his narrow and thin eyes. He walked up to Su Dingheng, cupped his fists, and said in a clear voice, "Congratulations, father. You can finally reunite with mother and relieve the decades-long yearning." Su Dingheng patted his shoulder. Well said, Xiena. After so many years, one can finally bring you and your mother into the Marquise manor. His heart was filled with love for Liu Shulan and guilt for Su Jinxian. They were both his children. Su Hao and Su Yingxue were raised in luxury in the Marquise manor, Su Jinxian had never set foot in it. It was a knot in his heart for many years, and because of this, he cherished Liu Shulan even more. Su Yuro was overjoyed when she saw that her mother and brother could enter the manor. She glared at Su Yingxue and walked to Su Dingheng's side. She said delicately, "Father, quickly welcome mother into the manor." Su Dingheng was overjoyed, and only then did he remember, "Quick, enter the manor." Su Yuro smiled smugly at Su Yingxue, who responded with a silent smile. Beside her, Su Hao's right hand was clenched into a fist, and his voice was cold and deep. "A concubine cannot enter the manor from the main entrance." Did father forget even the most basic etiquette in his joy? Su Yingxue's lips curled up. If father forgets, someone will naturally remind him. Today, Lord Lin from the Ministry of Rights is also here. As soon as she finished speaking, a series of hurried footsteps came from the entrance of the manor. Su Dingheng was about to lift the sedan curtain when Lin Qin shouted, "Marquis Su, you can't." Liu Shulan had already stepped out of the sedan door with one foot, and Su Dingheng had already taken her hand. He raised his head and looked at Lin Qin strangely. "Lord Lin, what do you mean?" He had never offended Lin Qin. Was this person here to cause trouble? Liu Shulan had a bad premonition. She quietly lifted a corner of the veil and looked coldly at Su Yingxue at the door. Su Yingxue happened to look at her too and smiled at her. There was no sharpness in her eyes, but it inexplicably weighed on Liu Shulan's heart. The purer someone appeared on the surface, the deeper they hid, and the more difficult they were to deal with. Chapter 261. My concubine can't wear red. Lin Qin walked in front of Su Dingheng and said softly, "Marquis Su, had you been blinded by the joyous occasion and forgotten the etiquette of our great Cheng dynasty?" This was the main entrance of the Marquis' residence, and it was the center of attention. How could a concubine enter through the main entrance? Besides, how could this concubine be worthy of wearing red? Su Dingheng came to a sudden realization. He quickly let go of Liu Shulan's hand and backed away from the door of the sedan. He looked gratefully at Lin Qin. "Thank you for your reminder, Lord Lin. Otherwise, it would have been extremely embarrassing. Marquis, why didn't you quickly get someone in the residence to prepare a set of clothes for Lady Liu to change into? If today's matter had spread, even if I hadn't said it, wouldn't there have been people who would have complained about Marquis in the Hall of Diligent Government tomorrow?" Lin Qin deliberately made the matter sound more serious. He was in charge of the Ministry of Rights and was a third-rank official with a higher rank than Su Dingheng. Su Dingheng didn't suspect him and immediately waved his hand to order the servants. "Men, quickly change into a wedding dress. It can't be red." Box novel. "Come Marquis, this. We hadn't prepared anything." The butler was a little embarrassed. Which family would have prepared a second wedding dress for their wedding? And even if Marquis had forgotten that concubines couldn't wear red, did this married lady not know? Or did she think that she could enter the house just because she treated herself as the first wife? When Su Yuro heard Su Dingheng's words, she stomped her feet in anger. She tugged at Su Dingheng's sleeve and acted coquettishly. "Father, mother waited for you for so many years. How could you have treated her like this? If she couldn't enter through the main entrance, did she have to change her wedding dress on the street?" This had been a great humiliation for the married woman. Su Jinxian had always been a man of few words, but he couldn't hold it in any longer. "Father, it would have been fine if we hadn't entered through the main entrance. At that moment, I was afraid it would have been difficult to find a second wedding dress that wasn't red. Why didn't we let mother enter the residence first?" This, Su Dingheng had been in a difficult position. Lin Qin hadn't said anything else, but he had kept a stern expression as he stood at the side. The words "etiquette cannot be overstepped" seemed to have been written on his face. Su Dingheng had been like an ant on a hot pan. Marrying Liu Shulan had been important, but his official position had not been able to be ignored on this occasion. If he had to choose between others and an official position, he would have chosen the latter without hesitation. "Miss, the clothes are here." Jilan had come out from the crowd and had carried a tray to Su Yingxue's side. Su Yingxue had caressed the orange wedding dress and had smiled. When Su Hao had seen her holding the wedding dress and walking to Su Dingheng's side, his eyes had been filled with doubt. When did she have prepared all these? Fortunately, Xu Yang had stood beside him and had told him, Miss had already prepared it. Jilan had personally sewn this dress. Xu Yang had looked at Su Yingxue now, and his eyes had been shining. It had not been because of anything else, but because he had felt that Su Yingxue's brain had been a little too good. It had been as if she had predicted everything that had happened that day. Su Yingxue had pushed the wedding dress to Su Dingheng's side and had said gently, I had prepared a wedding dress for Aunt Liu without permission. At that moment, I wondered if Aunt Liu would have been willing to change into it. Su Dingheng had turned his head and had seen the orange-red wedding dress. His eyes instantly lit up as he praised Su Yingxue repeatedly. You have been a thoughtful child. Quickly, bring it to your aunt to change into. Father, it would have been unlucky for a woman to change her wedding dress on the day of marriage. Su Jinxian had looked at Su Yingxue with a dark gaze. He hadn't forgotten what Su Yingxue had done at the Wangjiang Tower last time. Now, he wouldn't have let her harm his mother so easily. Yes, father. How could you have made your mother suffer like this? What red tape? Don't tell me it couldn't have compared to mother's position in your heart. Su Yuris' eyes had turned red. Chapter 262. Take the side door. Usually, when she put on such a pitiful look, Su Dingheng would do whatever she wanted. But now, not only did Su Dingheng not listen to her, he even sneered and ignored her. Su Yingxue lowered her head and laughed. If Su Yuro had not said those words, Su Dingheng would still have doted on her. However, her words today had cut off half of Su Dingheng's impression of a good daughter. A dignified and proper young miss of the Marquise manor would not have despised the red tape on such a grand occasion. Su Yingxue placed the wedding dress into the sedan. Before Liu Shulan could speak, she smiled and said, Aunt, please change into the wedding dress I prepared for you. Box novel. Liu Shulan would not act rashly. She smiled lightly, her voice as soft as a willow in March. Thank you for your trouble, eldest young miss. I'm afraid that eldest young miss was in such a difficult position today. Why should aunt be afraid? You could even do such a thing to me in the Yaoguang garden. Wouldn't it be more convenient for you to harm me after entering the Marquise manor? Su Yingxue's laughter was filled with coldness. Liu Shulan was just pretending to be nice to her. She didn't expect Su Yingxue to be so straightforward. Liu Shulan stared at the wedding dress, and her tone turned cold. So, eldest young miss, you wanted to use this wedding dress to harm me? So what if I did? Could it be that aunt had other choices now? Su Yingxue chuckled and turned around to leave the bridal sedan. She said in front of everyone, Aunt understood the big picture. She said she wanted to change her clothes immediately. Father, please send people to surround the bridal sedan and protect aunt's innocence. Su Dingheng nodded repeatedly and commanded the bridal escort team. Quick, surround the bridal sedan. Not a single breath of wind is allowed to leak out. Half of the bridal procession were men. Su Dingheng did not expect that Su Jinxian would not allow them to peek at his mother. He chased the men away and blocked the door of the bridal sedan himself. He had the maidservants surround the bridal sedan. Su Yingxue slowly walked back to Su Hao's side, and Su Hao's expression finally eased up a little. Changing clothes on the street, even in a bridal sedan, won't be good if the news gets out. Su Yingxue nodded. Yes. Su Hao suddenly felt that Su Yingxue's plan was not any weaker than the military strategy he used on the battlefield. A gratified smile appeared on his handsome face. Liu Shulan changed her clothes in the bridal sedan and did not come out for a full hour. Many formalities had not been completed. Even Su Dingheng could not free himself to entertain the guests in the Marquise manor. He was originally overjoyed today, but at this moment, impatience appeared on his face. Shulan, hurry up, he urged. In the bridal sedan, Liu Shulan had just taken off her clothes. After being urged by him, she immediately panicked. She was not changing slowly, but she was checking Su Yingxue's clothes. She was afraid that the clothes were crudely made and that there would be traps that would embarrass her. She was also afraid that Su Yingxue had poisoned them and wanted to harm her. That was why she had taken so long. After an hour, she touched the wedding dress and did not dare to change until there was nothing strange about it. However, when she changed into her clothes, she felt a little awkward. This wedding dress was much wider than her original one. She stretched out her arms, and the sleeves were loose and folded into several layers of folds. It made her look fat and round. Su Dingheng was so anxious that he spun around on the spot. He could not control himself and was about to rush into the bridal sedan when Lin Qin coughed. Marquis Su, etiquette. Sigh. Su Dingheng sighed heavily. Liu Shulan finally changed her clothes and stepped out of the bridal sedan door again. Su Dingheng suddenly remembered, this is the main door. You can't enter from the main door. Let Jinxian send you to the side door. The side door is open. Chapter 263. The side door is also blocked. Liu Shulan endured the intense shame in her heart and responded with a coy, yes, Marquis. Her obedient demeanor eased Su Dingheng's heart somewhat. He needed to witness Liu Shulan's entrance into the manor, so he accompanied her to the side door. The side door, originally large enough for a bridal sedan to enter, was now obstructed by a long queue. Su Dingheng widened his eyes. What's going on? Box novel. In front of him, many people in ragged clothes were lining up to receive porridge and steamed buns. They were blocking the side door of the Marquise Manor tightly. Not only was it impossible to enter the bridal sedan, but it was also too crowded for people to pass through. Su Yuro, already filled with anger because Liu Shulan couldn't enter through the main entrance, rushed over and shouted, "You beggars, hurry up and get lost. Blocking the side door of our manor, do you want to die?" The beggars who had originally been queuing up to receive relief now turned their collective gaze towards Su Yuro. The master of the Marquise Manor has shown kindness by providing us with porridge. What right do you have to make us leave? She's dressed in such flashy clothes. One can tell at a glance that she's no good. Spit on her. Spit on her. The beggars, having gone without food for some time, now had a chance to receive food. Those who prevented them from begging for food were now their objects of disdain, and they began spitting at Su Yuro. Su Yuro's clothes were stained with the beggars' saliva. She was so angry that she cried out, "Ah, you dirty and ugly people. I'm going to kill you. Little brother, quickly, kill them." Su Jingxuan's expression darkened, and he immediately ordered the palace guards to arrest the beggar who had spat at Su Yuro. The beggars immediately panicked. What are you doing? This is the Marquis of Marshall South's porridge stall, the Su family's favor for ancestral worship. You can't deprive us of our food. I'm letting you eat. Go to hell. Su Yuro stepped forward and kicked one of the beggars, her gaze extremely vicious. When Su Jingxuan's palace guards were about to kill him, Su Dingheng suddenly shouted angrily, "No." He rushed to the side door and looked at the people serving the porridge. They were all from the Marquise Manor. He suddenly remembered that Su Yingxue had told him earlier that when the ancestral hall was opened, they were supposed to show kindness. If Su Jinxian killed someone, wouldn't that be a slap in the face? Hold on. Stop. Su Dingheng looked unhappily at Su Yuro and her brother. Su Yingxue immediately stood up, feeling guilty in her heart. Father, one was thoughtless. Our ancestors taught us that once we open the ancestral hall, we must help the people. I placed the porridge stall at the side door, blocking Aunt's path into the manor. It's my fault. As she spoke, she was about to kneel and apologize. Su Hao pulled her up with a stern face. Father, what's wrong with sister following the teachings of our ancestors? Su Dingheng was flustered and helpless. Yingxue indeed followed our ancestors' instructions, but this door is blocked. How can Shulan get in? Yingxue, quickly get these people to move away and make room at the entrant. He was anxious to carry Liu Shulan into the house. Su Yingxue looked hesitant. Father, we've already set up the porridge stall. If we remove it now and say that we're not going to give out porridge, we'll be breaking our promise to the people. That's right. On what grounds can you remove it? You promised to give us porridge. You can't take away our food. You can't. No. I'm still in line and haven't received any food. A group of beggars immediately stood at the entrance of the manor, guarding the porridge stall. Su Yuro was so angry that she wanted to kill someone. You bunch of lowlifes, why don't you take a look at what kind of livestock you are? Do you think you are worthy of asking for food at the entrance of our Marquise Manor? Don't block my mother's way. Chapter 264. Kneel down and apologize, Miss Su, you went too far with your word. They were people, not livestock. Such humiliating remarks, how could they come from a young miss of the Marquise Manor? Liang Jin and his wife hurried over. These guests had been waiting in the manor for quite some time, but they hadn't seen the host. They came to see what was happening and happened to hear Su Yuru's malicious words. Mrs. Liang had a gentle disposition, but when she heard Su Yuru's words, she too displayed a look of disgust. A woman like this, how can she be fit to be the Marquise Manor's young miss? The eldest young miss, adhering strictly to etiquette, opened the ancestral hall to honor her ancestors and set up a porridge stall to help the commoners. Such kindness was now being trampled upon like this. It's truly excessive. Behind her, several official wives shared her viewpoint. We initially thought the Marquise Manor's eldest young miss was arrogant and domineering, but we didn't realize she had such a sense of propriety. Box novel. This second young miss used to pretend to be gentle and delicate, obedient and clever. Who would have thought she was so malicious? In my opinion, Marquis Su's choice of concubines doesn't seem to be very virtuous. Otherwise, how could he have raised such a malicious daughter? When Su Yuro heard their insults, she wished she could silence them. Liu Shulan's voice came from the bridal sedan. Rua, you're being too thoughtless. Even if she's intentionally making things difficult for us, we must obey her orders. Kneel and apologize to her immediately. Mother, I won't. Su Yuro refused, being delicate in her manner. Kneel. Liu Shulan scolded sternly. Although Su Yuro was somewhat delicate, she had always heeded Liu Shulan's words. She also understood that the current situation was unfavorable for the mother and daughter. Kneeling and apologizing was necessary to salvage some of their reputation in front of everyone. But she was unwilling. It was clear that Su Yingxue had set them up, yet she was required to kneel to her. This was unfair. She reluctantly knelt, but Su Yingxue supported her. Sister, what are you doing? If the wives of the officials see this, they might think I'm mistreating you. Liu Shulan wanted to turn this situation around, but Su Yingxue refused. Su Yingxue played the role of a loving sister and suggested even more considerately, Father, Aunt must enter the residence. Why don't we dismantle this porridge stall for now and reopen it after Aunt enters? Her words struck a chord with Su Dingheng, who had been experiencing a headache. Now that Su Yingxue had spoken up about her actions, it didn't embarrass him. However, Lin Qin, standing behind him, cleared his throat loudly. Lin Qin stood beside him, resembling a large character for courtesy. Su Dingheng's headache returned, but Lin Qin's presence reminded him that his official position and reputation were more important. Su Dingheng impatiently waved his sleeve. Fine, let's use another side door for entry. Well, continue serving porridge here. Father, how can mother endure this? Su Jinxian clenched his fists, feeling indignant. He gave Su Yingxue a fierce glare. This woman didn't want his mother to enter the residence at all. She was deliberately humiliating her. If you continue making a scene, you won't enter the Marquise Manor. Su Dingheng was growing increasingly exasperated. More and more guests gathered at the side door, all of them officials of the imperial court. Su Dingheng was someone who cared deeply about his image and reputation. His enthusiasm for marrying Liu Shulan had long been ruined by these events. He gestured. Jinxian, escort your mother in through another side door. I'll head to the front hall to entertain the guests. With that, he turned around and smiled at Lin Qin and Liang Jin. Lord Lin, Lord Liang, let's proceed to the front hall. Chapter 265. Lady Liu is unable to enter the residence. Lin Qin and Liang Jin nodded and followed Su Dingheng to the main entrance, returning to the front hall. Su Yingxue looked at the few remaining people surrounding the bridal sedan and asked Su Jinxian out of kindness, "Second brother, did you want me to accompany you from the side door?" "No need." Su Jingxuan's expression had darkened. Su Yuro had gritted her teeth, saying, "Su Yingxue, who needed your fake kindness? Get lost." Before Su Yuro could finish her insulting words, Su Hao stepped forward and stood beside Su Yingxue. His aura was awe-inspiring, and his entire person resembled a cold knife. Su Yuro had been so frightened that she trembled and swallowed the rest of her words. Box novel. Since my younger brother and sister didn't need me and brother to accompany them, we went to the front hall. After all, there were still many distinguished guests waiting for us to entertain. Su Yingxue smiled and stabbed a knife into the hearts of the siblings. Her words had a deeper meaning. Su Yuro and her brother weren't stupid, so they understood. Su Yingxue was saying that only the two of them born to a legitimate wife were qualified to sit in the main seat. The two of them born to a concubine were only qualified to carry a bridal sedan and walk around the side door. What made them even angrier were the 3 side doors of the Marquise Manor. They had gone around each side door, but they weren't allowed to enter. When Su Hao returned to the front hall, he thought, could Lady Liu still enter the Marquise Manor today? Su Yingxue had flipped her hair. Of course, she could. Today, she was father's concubine. If she didn't enter the Marquise Manor, wouldn't it become the laughingstock of the entire Jiangdu? Eldest young miss, you knew how to joke. At this moment, Lady Liu was already the laughingstock of the entire Jiangdu city. Changing her wedding dress in the middle of the street, the main entrance wasn't allowed, and the side doors weren't allowed. It had been almost an hour, but her bridal sedan still hadn't been able to enter. Just now, when I passed by, I heard several madams laughing at her. Xu Yang muttered beside Su Hao. I said she could enter the Marquise Manor, but I didn't say her bridal sedan could enter the Marquise Manor. Su Yingxue's lips curled into a cold smile. The other 2 side doors of the Marquise Manor also had porridge stalls. Su Hao had looked over without surprise. Su Yingxue had looked at him seriously. Of course. Could it be that the other 2 side doors weren't the Marquise Manor's doors? Su Hao, combining Su Yingxue's words, had thought for a moment. Then there was only one corner door left at the woodshed. Su Yingxue blinked her eyes like a ghost. Brother, do you still remember when one sneaked out to play when I was young? You were afraid that I would get lost, so you often followed me. You. Su Hao poked her forehead. Her mischievousness had been beyond one's imagination. Su Hao had originally been joking with Su Yingxue when he suddenly sensed 2 cold gazes behind him. He had turned around abruptly, but he hadn't noticed anything. Chu Yihan had retracted his gaze, but his heart had been filled with displeasure. The distance between Su Hao and Su Yingxue had been too close. Your Highness, had Lady Liu gone through 3 side doors, but they had all been blocked. They had all been porridge stalls, so she couldn't enter at all. There had only been a corner door at the Marquise Manor's woodshed, so the bridal sedan couldn't be carried in. Tell me, wasn't this eldest Miss Su good at torturing people? Mo Chi had been beside Chu Yihan, talking non-stop. From the very beginning, he had been staring at the entrance of the Marquise Manor and had been telling Chu Yihan everything. However, Chu Yihan hadn't been listening. His gaze had been fixed on Su Yingxue the entire time. She had treated guests well and had been humble and polite. She had been very worthy of the identity of the Marquise' legitimate daughter. Chu Yihan's mind had been filled with the images of Su Yingxue that he had seen all these years. Chapter 266, Su Yingxue understood too quickly. She had been bold when she was young, and she had been domineering when she grew up. This had been the first time he had seen her so educated. His little dumpling seemed to have many faces, but thinking about it, no matter what she looked like, he had liked her very much. As he had thought about it, a touch of gentleness had entered his eyes, and even the corners of his mouth had curled up unconsciously. Mo Chi had been thirsty from talking, but Chu Yihan hadn't given him any reaction. However, he had seen as if he had seen a ghost that Your Highness had been smiling. Box novel. Oh my God. Just how gentle had Your Highness been? How could he have laughed on his own? In the past few years, Chu Yihan had always frowned, and his expression had been icy cold when he had thought about things. Mo Chi had looked at Su Yingxue with admiration. This eldest young miss had been magical. Your Highness had been poisoned quite badly. Other than Liu Shulan's interlude, Su Dingheng had still been very proud today. Many officials in the court had come to congratulate him and even praised him for having a pair of good children. Su Hao had been a young general, and Su Yingxu's medical skills had been outstanding. It had been simply a blessing that other families could not hope for. Su Dingheng's face had been flushed red from drinking. My colleagues, you flattered me. One didn't deserve it, I didn't deserve it. Ha ha ha. He had drunk to his heart's content with everyone. Su Yingxue had also been the one who had sent the guests off. When she had sent Liang Jin and his wife away, she had even said a few words to Mrs. Liang. When Mrs. Liang had left, her little face had been red. Chu Yihan had stood at the entrance of the Marquise Manor and had seen that Lin Qin had also exchanged a few words with Su Yingxue. When Su Yingxue had hopped in front of him, Chu Yihan had pinched her face. I vaguely remembered that Lin Qin hadn't gotten along with you in Upper Forest Park. Your Highness must have remembered wrongly. Su Yingxue's face had been pinched, and the sound she had made had been strangely cute. Chu Yihan had raised his eyebrows slightly and had increased his grip. Cough. I observed that Lord Lin had some hidden illness and had taken the initiative to send him a few medicines a few days ago. Su Yingxue had rolled her eyes. All right. She had known that she couldn't hide it from Chu Yihan. Chu Yihan had let go of her face and had pinched her nose. Cunning. This is so-called clever. Your Highness, don't mix up these two words. Su Yingxue had pouted and had argued. She had put on makeup today, and her lips hadn't been as pink as usual. Instead, they had a seductive blush. Chu Yihan's throat moved as he held the back of her head and leaned over to kiss her. Su Yingxue had been caught off guard and had fallen into his arms. The man's body had been like a furnace. The spring night had been slightly cold, and the night wind had blown from behind. Su Yingxue had immediately experienced the feeling of ice and fire. Oh, Your Highness, you're not allowed to speak, or else one won't be able to bear it. Chu Yihan's words had suddenly triggered a certain nerve in Su Yingxue. She had seemed to have understood what Chu Yihan had meant when he had said he couldn't bear it. Fear had risen in her heart, and she had quickly pushed him away. She had shouted in shock, Your Highness, hold it in, otherwise, she would lose her innocence. Chu Yihan had just been trying to scare her and hadn't had any intention of doing anything to her. However, she had looked at him with such understanding eyes that he had been at a loss. An awkwardness had spread between the two of them. Su Yingxue had bitten her tongue and had suppressed the blush that had crawled up half of her face. She had said in a muffled voice, Farewell, Your Highness. She had run away after saying that. Her heart had been filled with 100,000 curses. It had been too embarrassing. How could she know so much? Su Yingxue, one gave your father a gift. Thank you, Your Highness. Su Yingxue hadn't heard him clearly and had run back to her courtyard. Chapter 267, Chu Yihan's gift. Facing the well in the courtyard, she took a deep breath for a long time until her face was reflected in the well water. It was not as red as before, and only then did she stand up and walk into the house. Ziwei stood there like a statue, but Xilan was all smiles. Su Yingxue pinched her soft cheeks. It's not like you were getting married today. Why were you so happy? Phut, haha. I am happy for Miss. Not only did Miss show off your face today, but you also angered the mother and daughter of Sunset Garden until their faces turned pale. The second young miss cried the entire afternoon today and was even wiping her tears at night. Xilan felt relieved just thinking about it. In the past, Su Yure's tears were enough for Su Denheng to beat Su Yingxue up. Su Yingxue was always at a disadvantage. Box novel. But today, Su Yuro had been crying all day. Their eldest young miss was not only safe and sound but had also received praise throughout the day. Even the way Marquis looked at her had changed. It was a complete reversal of fortunes. Wasn't that delightful? Su Yingxue raised her eyebrows. It's been tough on them. Didn't father arrange a place for Madame Lin to stay? Why did he let Madame Lin share a courtyard with Su Yuro and her mother? Master was too busy enjoying the company of two beautiful women in the bridal chamber to remember to arrange accommodations for Madame Lin, Jilan said with a mischievous smile and a wink. Su Yingxue raised her eyebrows. Where did these two beautiful women come from? Did they make father forget about Madame Lin? They were sent by the 9th prince. Your Highness' gift list today included two stunning women. I heard they were the top beauties from the flower pavilion that the Marquis often frequented. The Marquis had originally intended to purchase them, but now, the prince has sent them to the Marquis. Puff. Su Yingxue couldn't help but spray out a mouthful of tea. Chu Yihan. Was he this cunning? How could her father resist the temptation of receiving two top courtesans on their wedding day? How could Liu Shulan even compare to the young and beautiful top courtesan from the flower pavilion? Wouldn't this drive Liu Shulan to the brink of anger? Su Yingxue couldn't help but give a thumbs up. Your Highness is truly impressive. She had previously thought that being the only one playing these games wasn't much fun. Her brother was so upright, he would never engage in such tactics. But Chu Yihan was playing along with her. This feeling of having someone to engage in these scheming games with her made Su Yingxue feel a wave of sweetness in her heart. In Sunset Garden, Su Yuru's cries echoed throughout the entire courtyard. Liu Shulan had dismissed all the servants. Su Yuro wanted to vent her frustration, but she couldn't find an outlet. Su Jinxian remained silent for a while as Su Yuro continued to cry. He finally said impatiently, "Sister, crying won't change anything. Please calm down." What do you mean crying won't change anything? This is all because of Su Yingxue, that wench. Father not only failed to arrange accommodations for mother but also embraced those two little devils into the room. This is a severe slap to our faces. Does father no longer want us? Su Yuro couldn't control her tears, and her cries grew louder. Liu Shulan stood up and scolded her harshly, "Rua, you're becoming more and more thoughtless." "Mother," Su Yuro pouted, feeling wronged. Their family of 3 had suffered today, and instead of helping her, Liu Shulan scolded her. She couldn't understand it. If you had half of Su Yingxue's intelligence today, we wouldn't be in this situation. Liu Shulan didn't care whether Su Yuro listened or not. She pressed her daughter and explained the truth clearly. Today, Su Yingxue not only cleared her name in Jiangdu City but also left a positive impression on the officials. In contrast, all your years of effort have been ruined today. Chapter 268. Liu Shulan took a step back to advance. Su Yuro was both shocked and frightened. "Mother, can I still marry the 7th prince in the future? If he and the Empress find out about this, will they reject me? Instead of worrying about such distant matters, why don't you think about how to deal with Su Yingxue in the future?" Su Jingxuan's eyes carried a sense of urgency. The gap between his position in the military and Su Hao's had been growing, to the point where a single word from Su Hao could determine his future. He felt like a horse with its throat gripped tightly by Su Hao. He had initially hoped that Su Yuro could gain favor in the Marquis manor, wield some influence, and help him. However, he couldn't count on this path anymore. Box novel. Com Jinxian, with me here, you don't need to worry too much. Today, don't stay in the Marquis manor. Continue training in the army until the right time comes. Don't come back without permission. Liu Shulan furrowed her brow. "Mother, can't one return to the manor?" "Yes. If you don't return to the manor, when your father remembers tomorrow, he will feel guilty towards the 3 of us. Now that you're in the Marquis manor, I'm afraid you won't be able to escape Su Yingxue's schemes. It's better to return to the military camp for now. Su Hao is straightforward. If he wants to harm you, he'll have to put in some effort. But Su Yingxue is different." Liu Shulan felt a heavy burden on her heart. The Su Yingxue of today was more composed and ruthless than she had imagined, subjecting her to humiliation. "Su Yingxue wanted me to enter the Marquis manor to block me, and then destroy me. We, mother and son, shouldn't both be trapped here. Su Jinxian nodded. Mother, take care. Having grown up under Liu Shulan's care, he was more knowledgeable and obedient than Su Yuro. At this moment, Su Yuro could only sulk. Liu Shulan and Su Yuro shared the same bed. After comforting her for a long time, she finally managed to pacify her. The sky was just beginning to brighten, and the morning fog still carried the coldness of the night. By the time the servants of the Marquise Manor began to rise and start their work, Liu Shulan was already kneeling outside Su Dingheng's courtyard. Su Dingheng had enjoyed a night of passion and had been attended to by 2 women. He woke up an hour later than usual. When he saw Liu Shulan kneeling at the courtyard entrance, her fair and smooth face was wet with tears, he suddenly woke up as if struck by a stick. He hurriedly went forward to help her up. Lena, what are you doing? How long have you been kneeling here? Liu Shulan stood up gently and leaned into his embrace. Her voice was soft and weak as she said, "No, I've made a mistake, so I knelt here to beg for your forgiveness, hoping you can forgive me." Guilt flashed in Su Dingheng's eyes. Yesterday, he had taken Liu Shulan as his concubine, and he had let her in through the back door. At night, he had even favored 2 top ladies. If it were any other woman, she would probably be furious. However, early in the morning, Liu Shulan was kneeling here, apologizing to him. He felt a pang of guilt. He coaxed her, and his tone softened considerably. What happened yesterday was a misunderstanding. How could it be your fault? Does your knee hurt? Should I call a doctor? No need, it's not a big deal. Is there anything one can help with the 2 young ladies in the Marquise room? Do you need me to arrange something for them? Liu Shulan was gracious and not jealous. She even generously offered to help with the 2 ladies. Su Dingheng's anger toward her instantly dissipated, leaving only pity and tenderness. Liu Shulan graciously arranged accommodations for the 2 women. In doing so, despite losing face the previous day, she quickly showed everyone in the Marquise Manor that she had the potential to be the mistress of the house. After all, Su Hao had not married yet, and there was no proper madam in the Marquise Manor. Although she was currently a concubine, she still had a say in matters. Chapter 269. Take away the documents. On the first day of her arrival at the Marquise Manor, she had already familiarized herself with the people there. When Su Yingxue went to the parlor for breakfast, Liu Shulan had already prepared a sumptuous table, waiting for her. Upon seeing her, Liu Shulan immediately greeted her respectfully. "Greetings, eldest young miss. Please take a seat." Su Yingxue raised an eyebrow. She thought to herself that Liu Shulan was indeed capable. Despite being the Marquise concubine, she was still so deferential in front of her. Su Yingxue didn't rebuke her immediately, and Su Dingheng felt sorry for Liu Shulan. "Lena, what are you doing? You're older than Yingxue, and you're making her uncomfortable." Box novel. Am I causing any discomfort? The eldest young miss of the Marquise Manor is of such high status. 1 a.m. just a concubine, so it's only right for me to show respect to the eldest young miss. Liu Shulan spoke tactfully as if she wanted to elevate Su Yingxue. Her words were technically correct, but Su Dingheng looked at Su Yingxue with a trace of displeasure. Su Yingxue sneered and took a seat beside Su Dingheng. She picked up her chopsticks and said, "Lady Liu's status is still unclear, so there's nothing wrong with me accepting her courtesy." What are you saying? Su Dingheng's face stiffened. "I married your aunt yesterday. You should address her as aunt now. How can you accept her courtesy so casually? Isn't it a bit too early to call her aunt now?" Su Yingxue replied casually. Liu Shulan was pleased. The worse Su Yingxue's attitude towards her, the more sympathy she could gain from Su Dingheng. She quickly followed Su Yingxue's lead and said, "Yes, if the eldest young miss doesn't want to address me as aunt, I can also serve as a servant and attend to the eldest young miss." "Lena, what are you doing as a servant?" Su Dingheng scolded. "Yingxue, quickly apologize to your aunt. I thought you had become more obedient yesterday, but one didn't expect you to be like this today." Su Yingxue took a bite of a silver silk roll and looked at Su Dingheng innocently. "Father, what I meant was that you haven't submitted the documents for taking a concubine to the Ministry of Rights yet." Lady Liu hasn't been officially recognized. According to etiquette, one really can't address her as aunt yet. It's because you were slow. How can you blame me? There was a hint of grievance in her tone, which left Liu Shulan stunned. Su Dingheng suddenly realized. That's right, I still need to go to the Ministry of Rights to submit the documents. Yingxue, it's father's fault for not thinking it through. Su Yingxue was right. As the Marquis, he had to go through the proper process when taking a concubine. This included visiting the ancestral hall and submitting documents to the Ministry of Rights. These steps were essential. So, father, after breakfast, you should hurry to the Ministry of Rights. When you're done and return, I'll personally pour tea and address her differently, Su Yingxue said graciously and thoughtfully. Su Dingheng was deeply relieved. You are indeed a good child. It was me who didn't treat you well before. One understand your intentions now. Su Yingxue smiled gently, but there was a coldness hidden in her eyes. Of course, he understood her intentions. She had already planned everything for him. Su Yingxue continued to eat her breakfast as if nothing had happened. Since Su Dingheng had praised her, Liu Shulan couldn't help but flatter her. Liu Shulan was extremely puzzled, but she couldn't decipher Su Yingxue's intentions. She could only take it step by step. After being away from the Marquise Manor for so many years, her understanding of courtly customs was not as thorough as Su Yingxue's, the legitimate daughter of the Marquis. She felt a sense of unease as if she were crossing a river by feeling the stones. However, despite Su Yingxue's seemingly casual demeanor, Liu Shulan's vigilance towards her continued to rise. She was too enigmatic. Chapter 270, Green Tea Biluo Chun. She was only a 16-year-old girl, but she possessed the composure of someone who had experienced the vicissitudes of life. What was most frightening was that she seemed to know everything. However, when it came to her and Su Yuro, they knew very little about her. Su Dingheng hastily went to the Ministry of Rights to submit the documents for Liu Shulan. When he went in, he looked excited, but when he came out, he appeared defeated. Box novel. Inside the Marquise Manor, Su Yingxue had already prepared tea and was waiting in the front hall for Su Dingheng to return. She had brought the green tea that Consort Xiong had gifted her. The tea had a bright green color, resembling a fine piece of floating jade in the cup. Su Yingxue picked up her teacup and smiled at Liu Shulan. Don't be in a hurry. Once father returns with the documents, I'll promptly serve you tea. Liu Shulan wore a gentle and unthreatening smile. Eldest young miss, you are too kind. I am not worthy of being called aunt by you. Your respectful address is already an honor for me. Su Yingxue exchanged a glance with Jilan as if to say, see, it's interesting to engage with someone intelligent. Jilan suppressed a smile and looked towards Su Yuro. Su Yuro was murmuring to Liu Shulan, why is mother being so polite to her? After becoming an aunt and gaining control over the Marquise Manor's management, she will have to consider your face. Liu Shulan quietly reminded her, it's too early to say that. Keep calm and don't speak recklessly. Humph. Su Yuro couldn't help but snort. She had been subjected to such humiliation by Su Yingxue yesterday. Even her younger brother couldn't stay in the residence and had to guard against Su Hao in the military camp. But now, as long as her mother was recorded in the family records and the documents were processed at the Ministry of Rights, she would have the status of a legitimate concubine in the Marquise Manor. Even as a daughter of a concubine, she would have a proper position and wouldn't be ridiculed by others anymore. She would not let Su Yingxue off the hook. Marquis has returned. The steward announced at the entrance of the front hall. Su Yingxue slowly placed her teacup down, while Liu Shulan and her daughter had already warmly welcomed him. Liu Shulan gently and considerately held Su Dingheng's arm. Marquis, you've worked hard. Please sit down and rest. Father, the paperwork is done. Hurry and open the ancestral hall to record mother in the family records. Mother has been waiting for so many years. Su Yuro jumped up excitedly. Su Dingheng hadn't even had a chance to sit down, and she had already urged him twice. Su Dingheng was already in a bad mood. He scolded her sharply. Your mother sent tea in a hurry, so why are you so impatient? Get lost. Su Yuro was taken aback by the scolding and almost burst into tears. She had never been scolded like this by Su Dingheng before. Father, Rua is just concerned about mother. She has always felt wronged. Sob, Rua, shut up. Your father has been busy all this time and hasn't even sipped tea. You're bothering him like this, which is thoughtless. Although Liu Shuyan's tone was gentle, she didn't hold back when lecturing Su Yuro, especially in front of Su Dingheng. Su Dingheng's expression softened a little when he saw Su Yuro's sensible behavior. Usually, it was Su Yingxue who provoked him. But now, she was sitting in the hall with an elegant posture, remaining calm and composed. She exuded a sense of calmness and composure that even he, as a father, admired. Su Dingheng's thoughts suddenly became more complex. Father, did everything go smoothly today? This green tea was given to me by Consort Xiong. If you've completed your task, I will serve tea to Aunt Liu. Su Yingxue smiled and called out to Aunt Liu. However, Su Dingheng's mood, which had momentarily eased, darkened again. Forget it, just give me the tea. Chapter 271. Lady Liu has no name, no title. Su Yingxue's eyes showed confusion, but she didn't react as dramatically as Su Yuro. She obediently handed the tea to Su Dingheng. Su Dingheng tasted the tea, finding it remarkably good. Considering that she had mentioned it was a gift from Consort Xiong, he believed she had put in great effort. He felt relieved. Yingxue, you are considerate. However, today, your Aunt Liu can't have this tea. When he had gone to the Ministry of Rights earlier, not only had the documents not been approved, but Lin Qin had also given him a secret decree, almost frightening him to the point of not being able to leave the Ministry of Rights. It turned out that before the old master had gone to the battlefield, he had discussed with the emperor. The emperor had left a secret decree at the Ministry of Rights. If he were to remarry or take another concubine, he would have to relinquish his title. Box novel. This was his father's severe punishment for betraying Long Shuli. To safeguard his title, he couldn't grant Liu Shulan an official status. Additionally, Lin Qin had reminded him that even though he had held a wedding, Liu Shulan couldn't become an official concubine, and she mustn't draw too much attention to herself in the Marquise manner. If this information reached the emperor's ears, it would be difficult to keep the secret decree hidden. Liu Shulan's face turned pale as she asked, Marquis, why? Su Yuro erupted in anger. Father, how can you do this? You married mother just yesterday. The entire Jiang capital Du city knows that mother is your concubine, and now you. How can you break your promise? What do you mean I broke my promise? Su Yuro, who gave you the audacity to defy your father? Su Dingheng's anger, simmering since before, erupted with Su Yuro's provocation. Seeing this, Su Yingxue quickly tried to mediate. Father, please don't be angry. Take care of your health. My younger sister is only worried about Aunt Liu's status. If you encounter any difficulties, you can tell me. I still have some influence in front of the emperor, and one might be able to help. Her eyes were sincere, and Su Dingheng was deeply moved. Yingxue, you have become quite sensible recently. I am very pleased. Father, you haven't explained why mother can't become your concubine. Compared to Su Yingxue's obedient and helpful demeanor, Su Yuro's current tantrum made Su Dingheng resent her even more. His brows knitted into a scowl as he pointed at Su Yuro. If you continue to cause trouble, get out. Look at your sister and then look at yourself. If your sister has some face in front of the emperor, and if you have any, go beg your mother yourself. Sob. Su Yuro burst into tears from the scolding. If she had any face in front of the emperor, she would have requested a marriage between herself and the seventh prince a long time ago. Why wait until today? Marquis, it's all my fault for not teaching Rua well. Please punish this servant. Liu Shulan suddenly knelt in front of Su Dingheng. Her delicate and gentle appearance was already moving enough, and now with tears in her eyes, she appeared even more fragile. It tugged at Su Dingheng's heartstrings. Su Yingxue couldn't help but smile. Indeed, she was the woman who had pampered her father for many years. She was truly capable. She was willing to swallow her pride and lower her status. Lena, what are you doing? Get up. Even if I can't give you a status right now, there's no need for you to call yourself a servant. Su Dingheng quickly embraced her. Her addressing herself as a servant was breaking his heart. Marquis, this servant understands. Marquis must have encountered some difficulties, which is why things are this way. This servant won't blame Marquis. However, the rules of the Marquise Manor are strict. If one don't have an official status, one can only be a servant. One cannot violate the rules of the Marquise Manor and become a laughingstock if word gets out, Liu Shulan asserted firmly. Chapter 272. In charge of the Marquise Mansion, every word she spoke was considerate of the Marquise Manor and aimed to ease Su Dingheng's worries. Su Dingheng found it hard not to cherish her. Su Yingxue's eyes sparkled, and she stepped forward to persuade, Father, even though one can't change my address to Aunt Liu for now, since she's already married into the Marquise Manor, why don't you temporarily delegate the stewardship to her? It will also help console her. Su Yingxue's gaze was gentle as she smiled at Liu Shulan. Liu Shulan's eyes held a hint of coldness. She knew that Su Yingxue's offering to give her authority was not out of kindness. Box novel. Su Dingheng felt somewhat conflicted. This might indeed console Lena, but she doesn't even have a formal status right now. How can she manage the household? Ignoring the potential resistance from the Marquise Manor's staff, such a situation becoming known outside would be a source of mockery. I didn't consider things thoroughly, Father, Su Yingxue said apologetically. Eldest young miss is being too humble. Eldest young miss possesses both virtue and talent, and she is the legitimate daughter of the Marquise Manor. Since Marquis is occupied with state affairs, it's only proper to entrust the stewardship to eldest young miss, Liu Shulan earnestly stated. Mother, are you out of your mind? Allowing her to manage the household, the two of us, Su Yuro was about to speak, implying that they would be in grave danger under Su Yingxue's control. Liu Shulan's icy glare immediately silenced her, forcing Su Yuro to swallow her words and sulk silently to the side. Su Dingheng glanced at Su Yingxue. Her capability in managing the medical clinic was well known, and her reputation had changed significantly. Even the emperor favored her. Letting her handle the affairs of the Marquise Manor was the best choice. However, he couldn't forget that Su Yingxue was a headstrong individual. Once he handed over power to her, would she eventually overthrow him, even as her father? Father, one lack knowledge and experience, and the first of may not be able to manage the Marquise Manor well. Su Yingxue shook her head, appearing disinterested in the authority. This made Su Dingheng less worried. He thought that after taking in Liu Shulan and continuing to manage household matters himself, he would become a laughingstock. Moreover, Su Yingxue was at the age of marriage. Could she still control the Marquise Manor after getting married? After considering this, Su Dingheng made a decision. Yingxue, I'll leave the affairs of the Marquise Manor to you for the time being. Here's the token, use it to manage things. Be diligent and don't take things lightly. If you mishandle matters, I won't hesitate to punish you severely. He emphasized his words to prevent Su Yingxue from acting recklessly. Moreover, the stewardship was handled by a pair of tokens, and he had only given her one, so her authority wouldn't be too extensive. Su Yingxue accepted the token with a troubled expression, saying, I will do my best. Very well, don't let me down. I'm entrusting the arrangements for your aunt to you. Ensure she is treated well. Su Dingheng stressed this point. Su Yingxue also promised solemnly, I will carefully choose the best residence within the Marquise Manor for aunt. For Lady Liu. Su Yingxue covered her mouth, feigning innocence. Liu Shulan maintained a smile on the surface, but beneath her sleeves, her fists were clenched tightly. As she returned to her courtyard, Su Yingxue hummed a little tune. Jilan served by her side, her smile equally radiant. Miss, you are truly amazing. One could see Lady Liu's struggle in her expression today. She must have been clenching her grip so hard under her sleeves. Chapter 273. Look at this servant with the master's standard. Su Yingxue nodded. Perhaps her hand was a little sore. But, miss, I'm curious. What strategy did you employ this time to prevent Lady Liu from passing the document? Even though the master dotes on her so much, he wouldn't even allow her into the family genealogy. Jillian's admiration for Su Yingxue could no longer be expressed in words. This wasn't my plan, it was Grandpa's. Su Yingxue's eyes were filled with nostalgia. In her previous life, when Grandpa was critically ill, she had served him only once. Grandpa held her hand and said, "Little Xue, even if I die, I won't let your mother be disappointed. I'll protect your position." At that time, she hadn't understood the deeper meaning of Grandpa's words. It was only after Grandpa's passing that Su Dingheng beat her mercilessly and told her about a secret decree Grandpa had obtained from the emperor. This decree ensured that he could never grant Liu Shulan a title in his lifetime. Box novel. At that moment, her grandfather had already passed away. Su Dingheng and Su Yuro unleashed their anger on her, subjecting her to 3 days and nights of relentless beatings. The pain, which had seeped into her very bones, still sent shivers down her spine when she recalled it now. As she opened her eyes once more, Su Yingxue's gaze turned cold. "Jilan, go to Sunset Court and inform them that I've selected Qingshan Court for Lady Liu. She can move there today and won't need to share with Su Yuro." Recalling that Qingshan Court was the largest courtyard within the Marquise Manor and had a history of past incidents, Jilan lowered her head and chuckled. "Yes, I will obey." When she arrived at Sunset Court, Su Yuro was amid a fit, causing chaos within the room. Upon seeing Jilan, Yuan Ruo glared. "What are you doing here? Our misaffairs are not meant for a lowly maid like you to witness." Having been in the company of Su Yuro for a long time, Yuan Ruo's tongue was equally sharp. However, Jilan paid no heed to her and spoke gently. "Whether I am a lowly maid or not, it's not for those even lower than me to comment upon. I am here on the orders of the eldest young miss. Please inform Lady Liu." Her tone, her appearance, and her demeanor all surpassed Yuan Ruo by a considerable margin. Passers-by among the servants couldn't help but comment, "Look, the master is different, and even the maids are different. Jilan is so poised." That's right. Look at Yuan Ruo's sharp and unkind demeanor. The second young miss is usually the same. Upon hearing this, Yuan Ruo stamped her foot in anger. "You lot with your foul tongues, just wait until the second young miss deals with you." Although the servants outside the door dispersed, their dissatisfaction with her grew. At some point, Lady Liu had opened the door. Her face was gentle, but her voice carried a hint of coldness. "Yuan Ruo, just because Ruo is lenient with you doesn't mean the others in the Marquise Manor will be. Go and accept your punishment." Yuan Ruo, unable to vent her anger, ended up taking the blame, leaving her in tears. Jilan couldn't help but admire her. Indeed, she was Lady Liu. With just one sentence, she shifted all of Su Yuro's mistakes onto Yuan Ruo, making everyone believe that Yuan Ruo had been instigating Su Yuro. Jilan became even more cautious and gave a slight bow. "Greetings, Lady Liu. I am here on the orders of the eldest young miss to inform you that Qingshan Court has been prepared for you. You can move in tonight. If you need anything, please instruct me, and the eldest young miss will ensure it's taken care of." "What a good girl you are. Thank you so much. Accept this small token of appreciation and enjoy it." Lady Liu removed a gold bracelet from her wrist and attempted to put it on Jilan's hand. Chapter 274. Su Yingxue was heroic. Jilan's expression remained composed as she gently pushed the golden bracelet back. She smiled and said, 1 a.m. doing things for the eldest young miss, and it is my duty. One appreciate your kind intentions. Liu Shulan's eyes briefly revealed a hint of hidden anger as she thought to herself that Su Yingxue was indeed formidable. The maid by her side remained unfazed by the golden bracelet. After Jilan finished speaking, Liu Shulan politely escorted her out. Su Yuro stepped out of the room and, observing Liu Shulan's polite behavior towards Jilan, she pouted and vented her frustration. Mother, she's just a lowly servant. Is it worth it for you to be so deferential? Box novel. Shut your mouth. Liu Shulan scolded Su Yuro and then turned to lead her into the room. Have you forgotten what mother told you last night? In terms of status, Su Yingxue and her brother are legitimate offspring, while you, me, and Jinxian are without official recognition. We must be cautious in our words and actions. Why are you always so impulsive? Don't you think your father's scolding wasn't enough today? Daddy is biased. He showered me with affection since one was a child. But now, he's supporting Su Yingxue in everything. Su Yuro's frustration deepened as she spoke. Wake up. Now that I have entered the Marquise Manor, I am no longer a concubine and don't have the authority to act as a steward. You not only have to accommodate Su Yingxue in every way, but you also need to treat her well and lower your stance. Otherwise, if she catches any fault with you, you can just wait to be expelled from the Marquise Manor. Liu Shulan warned her with a serious tone. Su Yuro had been pampered since childhood and, though she had her thoughts, she had recently been beaten down by Su Yingxue. Hearing Liu Shulan's words, she felt even more despondent and grew to resent Su Yingxue even more. Jilan returned from Sunset Court and told Su Yingxue about the golden bracelet given to her by Lady Liu. Her eyes were filled with disdain. Lady Liu thought that everyone was driven by greed for money and could be swayed by wealth. However, I've been with you for many years, and the words loyalty and integrity are engraved in my heart. Even if I were to die, I would never betray you, let alone over a golden bracelet. Su Yingxue felt very pleased. She recalled that in her previous life, Jilan had been just as loyal, unwavering in her loyalty to her even unto death. With that in mind, she turned and brought out a box of jewelry, tossing it in front of Jilan. Pick out a few pieces for yourself. The golden and jade jewelry clinked as it landed on the table. Jilan became a little flustered. Miss, I didn't do this for these. It's, you silly girl. No, you don't care, but your miss is generous. Noble consort Xiao gifted me a heap of gold hairpins and bracelets. One can't use them all, so I'm leaving them here. Why not let me dress you up? When Xu Yang sees you later, his eyes will be blinded. Jilan had a fair and tender complexion, and Su Yingxue couldn't resist pinching her cheek. Jilan watched as Su Yingxue treated the jewelry as though it were air and felt a mix of amusement and frustration. After all, which girl didn't like these things? She liked them too. However, she understood that her miss was genuinely generous. If she was too reserved, she wouldn't be a fitting maid for her. Without hesitation, Jilan chose a hairpin and a bracelet and adorned herself with them. Her cheeks turned red as she asked, Miss, do one look good like this? It looks great. It's just that your clothing is too plain. Tomorrow, let's go to the Thousand Jiao Pavilion and have Sister Jinyang customize 2 outfits in bright colors for you. Su Yingxue appraised Jilan and made the suggestion. Jilan was flattered and had decided to be even more loyal to Su Yingxue in her lifetime. Thinking of Qingshan Court, she couldn't help but express her concern. Miss, even though Lady Liu has recently entered the manor and may not be aware of the situation at Qingshan Court, it has been uninhabited for many years. If you let Lady Liu move in like this, and she complains to the Marquis, wouldn't it nullify your plans of the past few days? Chapter 275. Liu Shulan plotted again. She won't complain. Su Yingxue took a sip of tea and spoke calmly. Why? Jilan's watery eyes were filled with curiosity. Due to the commotion surrounding her arrival in the manor, father has already lost face, and the Ministry of Rights has also encountered obstacles. Considering Liu Shulan's mindset, she should understand the consequences if she were to repeatedly provoke the man she relies on as soon as she enters the house. Moreover, the Marquise Manor isn't a place where she is the only woman. There are 2 younger and more beautiful courtesans here. Su Yingxue raised her eyebrows at Jilan. Box novel. Jilan smiled and replied, in that case, not only will Lady Liu be unable to report you, but shall also need to clean up Qingshan Court. Otherwise, if master sees it in a neglected state, he'll undoubtedly be disappointed and visit the courtesan's quarters. Exactly. When men have multiple women to choose from, they'll undoubtedly seek one who pleases them both physically and emotionally, Su Yingxue added, a hint of disdain in her eyes. But I feel that some men won't be like the Marquis, for instance, our eldest young master, and perhaps ninth prince. Jilan playfully winked at Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue turned around and narrowed her eyes, saying, "You naughty girl, you're teasing your miss." "I misspoke. Please don't be angry, miss. One just feel that ninth prince is an extraordinary man, and he treats you exceptionally well. He considers everything for your benefit." "You naughty girl, you're still talking." Su Yingxue chased after her, and the two of them began to playfully roughhouse in the courtyard. Ziwei watched from the shadows. He may not have understood the meaning behind Jilan's jest, but he could discern that whenever Chu Yihan's name was mentioned, Su Yingxu's smile was genuinely heartfelt. In Qingshan Court, Liu Shulan and Su Yuro arrived with a group of people. Liu Shulan's expression was stern, while Su Yuro exclaimed, "Su Yingxue, you've gone too far. What kind of place is this? How can anyone live here?" Su Yuro had joined the Marquise Manor late and was unaware of the past events at Qingshan Court. She believed that Su Yingxue was motivated by fear of her mother and had assigned her to the largest Qingshan Court in the Marquise Manor. However, the place was dirty and run down, covered in dust, and an occasional cold wind sent shivers down one's spine in the courtyard. Liu Shulan, who had been pampered by Su Dingheng for years, couldn't help but feel a twinge of anger upon entering Qingshan Court. However, after a brief moment, she composed herself and immediately instructed Su Yura's servants, "Begin cleaning immediately, discard any old items, and move things from Yaoguang Garden. Before Marquis arrives tonight, make sure this place is redecorated to look fresh and appealing." The servants promptly went about their tasks, while Su Yuro continued to protest, "Mother, we should complain this to father and have him stand up for us. Let's see how Su Yingxue bullies us." "You fool." Liu Shulan gave Su Yura's hand a heavy pat. "Can't you see how skilled Su Yingxue is at her tactics? Your father has stirred up quite a bit of trouble by accepting me as his concubine. We haven't yet figured out why the Ministry of Rights rejected it. And there are still 2 young and beautiful courtesans in the manor. If I cause more trouble for your father, no matter how deep his affection is for me, he'll grow weary of it. As for Su Yingxue, even if one report her, what then? She'll use her recent assumption of family leadership as an excuse to avoid repercussions. Your father won't punish her severely, and she'll remain the Marquis' legitimate daughter." Liu Shulan's gaze turned cold. Every step of Su Yingxu's plan was carefully aimed at the mother-daughter pair's lifeline, ensuring that even if they suffered, they couldn't speak out. Chapter 276. Pretending to be hurt to gain sympathy. Mother, are we going to let Su Yingxue do as she pleases? Su Yuro started crying, feeling aggrieved. Ever since her last fall into the water, she had been constantly suppressed by Su Yingxue and hadn't lifted her head. She was becoming increasingly uncertain and impatient. She was too eager to witness Su Yingxu's downfall and teach her a lesson. "Don't be hasty. Bear with it a little longer. Today, you'll tidy up this courtyard with me. Tonight, we'll invite your father over for a meal." Liu Shulan consoled Su Yuro. A hidden glint of determination shone in her eyes. Old Madame Zhong kept a watchful eye on Qingshan Court and reported to Su Yingxue about Liu Shulan and her daughter personally tidying up the courtyard. She also reminded Su Yingxue, "Marquis will be having dinner at Qingshan Court tonight." Box novel. Su Yingxue smiled. "I'm afraid Qingshan Court won't be able to prepare anything special. Jilan, take some money to the kitchen and instruct them to add extra dishes to Qingshan Court tonight." Jilan smiled and replied, "Yes, miss." Su Dingheng arrived at Qingshan Court for dinner that evening. Initially, he was puzzled by Su Yingxu's decision to assign this courtyard to Liu Shulan. However, upon seeing the courtyard neatly organized by Liu Shulan, he held back his words. Upon reaching Liu Shulan's main chamber, she was dressed in a dark green dress. Her slender waist was adorned with a jade belt, accentuating her graceful figure and arousing the most primal desires in a man's heart. Su Dingheng rushed forward and embraced Liu Shulan. "My Lena." He held her, closed the door, and their passionate embrace began. Liu Shulan initially wanted to resist but welcomed him, using an old-fashioned technique that tickled Su Dingheng's heart. As he was about to make another move, Liu Shulan softly whimpered, "It hurts." Liu Shulan's eyes brimmed with tears. Though her tears hadn't fallen yet, they had already tugged at Su Dingheng's heartstrings. Thinking she was doing it for fun, he couldn't help but smile. "Lena, one love it when you call me that." Just as he was about to proceed, Liu Shulan's tears fell. "Marquis, you're causing pain to me. I haven't even started anything yet." Su Dingheng furrowed his brow. This was not the usual playfulness. "It's because I injured my hand while cleaning the house today." Liu Shulan concealed her hands behind her back. Her tearful eyes, combined with a delicate tone, had the effect of a 70% pitiful and 30% delicate appeal. She didn't utter the word wronged, but it was already evident on her face. Su Dingheng drew her hands out and noticed some minor scratches on her fair skin. The other hand showed signs of bruising, further fueling his anger. "What's going on? Who dares to hurt you?" He had always cherished Liu Shulan, knowing her to be as delicate as a flower. He had pampered her, nurturing her delicate skin, which remained as fair as snow despite bearing 2 children. Seeing her skin injured, he was particularly infuriated. "Father, don't be angry. It's because I failed to share the burden with Mother that she injured her hand." Sobs from Su Yuro were audible from outside the door. Su Dingheng quickly composed himself. He opened the door and allowed Su Yuro inside, noticing that her hands were just as injured as Liu Shulan's, with visible calluses, as if she had overworked herself. He was furious. "What's going on? Both you and Yuro are my sweethearts. Who would dare to hurt you? Rua, don't speak recklessly. Eldest young miss allocated this best courtyard to us. One believes she recently took over as the housekeeper and couldn't allocate extra manpower at the moment, so she had us clean it ourselves. You must show respect to the eldest young miss." Liu Shulan gently admonished Su Yuro. Chapter 277. The scheme failed. The tears at the corner of her eyes had not fallen yet, and it was very pitiful. Su Yuro also sobbed softly. Yes, Rua would never blame sister. Sister didn't mean to mistreat mother. This Su Ingxue. This Marquis has only handed over the management rights to her for a day, and this is how she handles things with me. How is she going to manage the Marquise manor in the future? Someone, call Su Ingxue over. One want to take away her right to be the housekeeper and make her scram back to her courtyard. Su Dingheng roared outside. Liu Shulan and Su Yuro looked at each other and smiled. Liu Shulan even held Su Dingheng's arm very carefully. "Marquis, please calm down. Even if you want to talk to the eldest young miss, you still need to have dinner. You've worked hard all day. My heart aches." Box novel. Liu Shulan had originally put a lot of effort into this meal. She had prepared some porridge and side dishes to provoke Su Dingheng's anger and make him even angrier at Su Ingxue, who knew that Jilan had arrived before the food in her kitchen was served. Jilan brought a group of kitchen staff and walked in front of Su Dingheng with a smile. "Miss knows that Marquis is having dinner at Qingshan Court, so she specially instructed me to make a few more dishes. She said that today is the first time Lady Liu is having dinner with Marquis, so we must not be careless." Humph. Su Ingxue did this. I was about to settle the score with her. Su Dingheng snorted softly. Jilan had a puzzled expression. Miss has just taken over the manor and one don't know how she has offended Marquis. However, Marquis should eat first. Miss said that she would immediately come to pay her respects to Marquis after she is done with her work. Jilan's crisp voice was like a pearl falling onto a jade plate. She did not give Su Dingheng the chance to flare up and immediately ordered the dishes to be placed on the table. Su Dingheng was still angry at first, but when he saw the table full of dishes, his anger became less obvious. There are 12 dishes in total. Stewed deer tendon in clay pot, shredded chicken and white fungus, ahat prawns, fried beef tenderloin with green onions, fragrant abalone, and so on. There are also various desserts, candied fruits, and fresh fruits and vegetables. In addition, eldest young miss also took out 2 tails of blood swallow's nest from our courtyard and stewed a cup each for Lady Liu and second young miss. She also made ginseng chicken soup for Marquis. The eldest young miss did not know Lady Liu's taste, so she had prepared this dinner for Lady Liu out of her pocket. If there was anything unsatisfactory, she asked Lady Liu and the second young miss to forgive her. The eldest young miss said that she would prepare better in the future. After Jilan finished speaking, she lowered her head and stood at the side, waiting for instructions. Liu Shulan looked at the table full of delicacies, and a dark light flashed across her eyes. She had no choice but to stand up and bow. I am extremely grateful for eldest young miss hospitality. Don't stand on ceremony. Eldest young miss said that she always wants to give you the best. This courtyard is like this, and so is the dinner. If you have any other requests, tell me, and I will immediately pass them on to young miss. Jilan quickly helped Lady Liu up, not giving her the chance to bend down. However, Su Yuro couldn't hold it in any longer. She's just pretending to be kind. She was deliberately doing it for Daddy to see. Did she believe that a mere feast could mask the dilapidated state of this courtyard? This courtyard was the most dilapidated one in the Marquis Manor. Rua, you can't slander eldest young miss. Liu Shulan secretly pinched Su Yuro, warning her with her eyes. Chapter 278. Behind a table of good dishes, Su Yuro's eyes were red from the pain, and her eyes were filled with grievance. All right. What's wrong with this courtyard? It's the largest one in the Marquis Manor. I know it, Bess. He had previously sympathized with Liu Shulan and her daughter, but seeing the dinner that Su Yingxue had carefully prepared, Su Dingheng couldn't help but wonder. If Su Yingxue had malicious intentions, why would she spend this money to maintain appearances? She could afford to give away the bird's nest and ginseng, so why wouldn't she send someone to fix Liu Shulan's courtyard? Su Dingheng furrowed his brows tightly. Sensing the unfavorable situation, Liu Shulan quickly leaned against him. Her voice was soft as water when she said, Marquis, it's all because one failed to discipline Rua properly. Eldest young miss has never mistreated us. This Qingshan court is indeed vast and spacious. One wanted to make some changes according to my ideas and called Rua over to help. That's when one injured my hand. Box novel. After hearing her explanation, Su Dingheng's expression improved considerably. Liu Shulan discreetly glanced at Su Yuro, as if warning her to abandon their previous plan. She was not allowed to falsely accuse Su Yingxue in front of Su Dingheng. Their scheme had already been exposed during Su Yingxue's dinner. Su Dingheng truly enjoyed his dinner. He had a hearty appetite and finished the ginseng chicken soup. He glanced at the untouched bird's nest that Liu Shulan and her daughter had, and Liu Shulan quickly offered it to him to please him. Su Dingheng happily consumed it. After indulging in a satisfying meal, Liu Shulan immediately assisted him with bathing and changing. Su Yingxue hurried over after completing her tasks, and it was already dark outside. Seeing her fatigued face, Su Dingheng couldn't help but console her. Yingxue, managing the household is no easy task. You've worked hard. Father is too kind. It's just that one was quite busy today. I heard that Lady Liu was dissatisfied with the Qingshan court and made changes herself. That's too polite of Lady Liu. If there are any changes she desires, she should immediately inform me, and I will take care of them for her. Su Yingxue expressed regret in her eyes and even engaged in some self-reflection in front of Su Dingheng regarding her inadequate job performance. Su Dingheng initially had some suspicions, but her words immediately dispelled them. He had wrongly doubted his daughter, who had diligently managed the household. He felt truly sorry for his unwarranted suspicions. He comforted Su Yingxue and advised her to return to rest early. Su Yingxue insisted on greeting Liu Shulan before departing. Upon noticing the injury on Liu Shulan's hand, she remembered to hand her a bottle of ointment made from blood-clotting grass, urging her to make good use of it. This bottle of ointment made Su Dingheng's eyes shine. Liu Shulan accepted the ointment and appeared warmly appreciative toward Su Yingxue, nearly bowing to express her gratitude. However, inwardly, she was filled with concealed resentment. As Su Yingxue left Qingshan Court, Jilan thoughtfully handed her a plate of pastries. "Miss, you haven't eaten dinner yet. Please have some to fill up." Su Yingxue consumed 2 pastries consecutively. She was genuinely hungry, having spent the entire afternoon in the accounting room poring over the account book until it grew dark. When she reached Su Dingheng, her complexion was wan. Jilan noticed that Su Yingxue had finished all the pastries and couldn't help but feel sorry for her. "Miss, you've had it quite tough." Su Yingxue playfully flicked her forehead. "Hard work needs to be genuine for people to believe it. Look at the injuries on Liu Shulan and Su Yuris' hands, those are real. Your miss, was just hungry and a bit tired." Jilan burst into laughter. "I didn't realize how skilled Miss is at acting. During today's meal, one saw that the mother and daughter tasted like wax and had to put on smiles while eating with Marquis. After dinner, second young Miss face turned pale." You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.